Welcome to Inspired Learning, the Path of Exile podcast with Badger and Yoji. My name is Badger.
I'm Yoji.
And we are joined today by the lovely Piebypie. Welcome, Pie, to the podcast. How have you been?
Oh yeah, I've been pretty well. Thanks for having me. How are you guys going?
I'm tired. Even though this is like a
Same.
much later start. Well, yeah, I guess we're both tired because it's a much
Yep.
late. Well, no, I shouldn't be tired. What I'm saying is it's a much later start than what we usually do the podcast, and I'm still tired because I tried to just. I crept that alarm back and back and back. I'm like, just maybe 5 more minutes in bed. I think 5 more minutes.
News.
Yeah.
I feel like that really summarizes 2020.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, how are you guys? I'm tired. Everyone's been saying it.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, just at some point you're just like tired of 2020 as well. But we were
Tired
almost
of
out of it.
2020.
We're out of it, So it's a good time to like look back at look back at the year. I think that's what people do at the end of year content, as you will. And yeah, but we will just look at PoE because all that real life stuff, we all know it's been bad, so we will look at PoE and maybe see if we can find some silver linings in this scuffed year that we've had.
Oh yeah.
So how has your 2020 been like overall? That's like a general broad look over all the 2020ness in PoE. How has it been by?
In PoE, this is probably it's a really weird question to answer because like I feel like I've been more passionate about PoE than I've ever been before. And I'm totally to blame Exile for this, ExileCon, because like everyone got real inspired from everything that was announced there, and just even like the feel of a new Conquerors expansion got everybody really, really excited, and it got me excited, and it made it easy to play the game more. But as the year has dragged on, the feel of like and the drive to want to play more has been a bit more trying. And I don't think it's just PoE. I do think like the other world events and the situation has just hugely contributed to like while I'm so passionate about this game and I launched a podcast for it and so did you guys. The feel has just been there's just been so much that I've loved about 2020 and just equally as much that I'm so frustrated by.
Yeah, that's very succinctly put there. That's kind of how I feel about Path of Exile, and I didn't know it. No, it's good. I got I got super inspired by ExileCon as well. Is for both of us, it was just a trip over the pond, I guess you could call it, to New Zealand. It was a little bit more of a difficult trip for a lot of other people, but wasn't too difficult for us, so we just kind of popped over there. And it was super inspiring. It was super, super cool to see all the stuff that GGG was working on. It went above expectations. And then there's kind of just been ups and downs from there, but it's kind of been like a little bit of like, just like hills and then a little bit lower down in terms of motivation for Path of Exile and that sort of thing. For me as well, but the love for the game has just not diminished at all. Like the actual love for how fun the game is, and also like holding on to those old memories of the game as well. Because this is my first year in content creation as well, so I've got this totally new view of the game from all of that. So 2020 has been really weird in a good way, Path of Exile, and really weird in a bad way for everything else.
Yeah, I saw your tweet maybe like a day or two ago about, like if you was looking back and it's been I can't imagine. I mean, I remember what it was like starting in content creation, but I feel like you've had such an amazing success here as well.
Oh, I'm always confused at how quickly I I got into the content creation community. It was it was pretty quick, but I really, really, really love it. But I am still I'm very, very hopeful. I'm a very hopeful person. I'm very hopeful for 2021 for Path of Exile, but it really will the next league will really set the tone. We'll see. But yeah, Yoji, how has your Path of Exile 2020 been?
Yeah, also overall, like kind of similar. I think my high after ExileCon wasn't as crazy as yours because I've not actually been there. Like, it was really difficult for me to leave for like a huge trip to the other side of the world, basically, while I have a pregnant wife preparing my wedding. I just didn't want to nope out of there. Like I mean, a weekend wouldn't be like realistic to do. If I would go to New Zealand, it would be at least like 2 weeks to make it worth like all the trouble and all the travel cost. So I opted to not do it. But even if you're watching at home, it was still an amazing event. Like I remember coming back home from a birthday of my sister, which was the day ExileCon was held, watching the beginnings of the stream, the panel on my phone in the car while my wife was driving, putting the kids to bed, just arriving when like the whole opening with Chris Wilson came out, just like sitting down at my desk and seeing like Chris Wilson come out. That was amazing. Like I watched all the Einhar and all the other stuff, the panel with Ziggy and whatnot before, and yeah, I still have fond memories of that time, even though I wasn't actually there. It was still pretty amazing.
I think for me, ExileCon ruined Einhar. Like, ruined him. I fucking hate Einhar.
It was
Sorry.
a
Am I
lot.
allowed to swear?
Oh yeah, go for it. It's fine.
Okay.
It's all good.
I forgot to check.
No, it's all good. Look, I don't think I don't think I would take it that far, but there was a real hype moment for the first 3 minutes of Einhar being on stage, and then things started to drag.
Next 20 minutes.
The next 20 minutes. I'm not sure if you guys remember that.
The 2 times the stage manager came out and tried to get him off stage.
Yeah. We still don't know exactly what was going on there, whether they was stalling or...
I've got some inside information, and that wasn't planned.
That wasn't planned?
No.
That makes it even more hilarious, though.
That's really, really good.
It seems very in character, but oh god, like sitting in the room, I feel like I cringed into a point where I was infinitely cringing inside of myself.
So my side of this was I was infinitely happy that this one went on so long, because if it went any shorter, I wouldn't have made it in time for the announcement to my PC. So for me, it was perfect. I was like, okay, there's already stuff happening, and then like 15 minutes later, I was like, okay, we're almost at home. Like, how long is this going on? But keep going, Einhar, keep going. I need 5 minutes.
Okay, I love that.
So I was
actually
actually
happy.
happy.
It a little less.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, from then on, basically that made me realize, like, and also inspired me quite a bit. I think maybe this podcast wouldn't even exist, honestly, if it wasn't for ExileCon happening, because that was kind of like when I tried to make a podcast happen, because I realized that I wanted to make more content for PoE again and return to regular content creation, which is why I'm here right now, which is why I'm streaming right now. So yeah, that was very important, I think, for a lot of people in the community, maybe even the devs. I think a lot of devs also said that like getting face to face with a lot of content creators in the community as a whole kind of like showed them the people who are passionate about, gave them a face. It's like at least what I heard from like 1 or 2 people.
I can only imagine being someone who worked at GGG and being like surrounded by a couple thousand people who are like that passionate about your game. Like
yeah.
I had never been to a con that was run by a dev before, or a publisher. Like I've been to TwitchCon and I've been to PAX, and TwitchCon is very much Twitch.
Yep.
Yep. There was a visual joke for those listening on the podcast afterwards. Yeah, there we go.
It's fine. I'll say it because I was like, I don't know which bit's cropped. And then the like PAX thing is just very much like all of these people competing with each other to be seen, and then when you like go further away from that exhibition floor, you start to see like the proper indie feel, or like the real like grit of what is a gaming community. And I found that, but like a lot of PAX is just, it seems like competition for your attention, which is basically just being on the internet anyway. And like PoE, GGG, ExileCon, they had 100% of your attention, your focus, and they had the exact right audience. Like no one else could have, like they wouldn't have cared. Like bringing over, I guess, media people, of course, but aside from that, everyone there was there because they really wanted to be there.
Yep. Yeah. Also, especially because it was in New Zealand and not like some easily reachable place for many people. If you went there, you really, really had to want to be there. And
the diehard
I think that made it.
Yeah. Or you were from Australia.
Oh, you were from
No.
like Australia or New Zealand, apparently.
Or New
but
Zealand.
yeah.
No. Yeah, but it very much was the diehard
Yeah.
fans. And that was really cool. It was so cool to be around that. Yeah. No,
We're still
you're right,
reminiscing
Yoji.
over a year later.
I know. Yeah.
I feel like you can't talk about 2020 without being informed by this experience, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see the downfall as we go through the podcast now from this point. No, there was a lot of really, really cool stuff that happened this year for Path of Exile. Let's not downplay the good things about Path of Exile. We'll talk about the not so good things as well. But I did just want to mention as well, Yoji, you were completely correct about ExileCon for you and wanting to motivate you to do more content and everything like that. And the podcast probably wouldn't exist without that. I wouldn't be a content creator without ExileCon, I don't think, because that inspired me. So, I think doubly this podcast would not have existed. So, who's ready for ExileCon 2? In probably about 8 years, when unsaid human malware is removed from the earth. But let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about Path of Exile. Yes. What was the first? What happened? Because we had ExileCon, and then it was Conquerors of the Atlas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's been this year. Yeah, which, well, I don't know what was your guys' first reaction about the Atlas update, the Conquerors of the Atlas?
For me, it was just like, yay, finally a new endgame. I've played the other one for like years, and I was just like, I didn't even care what it was. I was just like, different endgame, yes. Because we had the War for the Atlas and also the Shaper, and then like the Uber Elder for quite some time until that point. So I was just happy for any change to happen. And it turns out I actually like the Conquerors a little bit more than I liked the Elder Shaper Atlas. But it also wasn't exactly the improvement that I wanted, but I only realized that like almost like now a year later, that it was like initially when I enjoyed Conquerors so much, it was mostly the novelty and not that the actual content was super great. I still like Conquerors more than the Shaper Elder Atlas, but it was not like currently right now I'm like happy for more change to come, which like luckily is happening.
I guess my first reaction.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll say my reaction then. So I think my first reaction to Conquerors, like I guess seeing the trailer and everything, I was just like, I was so pumped. I loved the idea of the regions of the Atlas and upgrading your like the customizability level, the RNG of the previous versions of Atlas, and like the weird unintuitive way of pushing around influence. Like I'll tell a small anecdote on the previous iteration, the Elder version. A friend of mine earlier last year, went and played through Path of Exile, and he'd never played PoE before. I don't know if he'd played Diablo or anything, but he's like reasonably intelligent, so you didn't have to like baby feed him to get him through the game. But he couldn't figure out that like it was very hard to understand exactly what the end game was, and he didn't realize that he had like effectively not progressed his Atlas properly and then lost all of his Elder progress as a part of like as a result of like one mistake. And I think like it's entirely possible to do that in the previous versions of the Atlas, but very like you can't really reset your progress, which I don't like. That definitely speaks to a larger topic, of course, but you can't like lose everything and all your hard work from this current version of the Atlas.
True. Plus, that was something you had to really pay attention to in the last version, yeah.
Yeah, like 5 new bosses was fun. Or I had a lot of optimism about them. The fight seemed really cool in the trailer. Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of hope for it.
Yeah, the hope was real. The hype was real. And for me, it's I think similarly to what Yoji was saying, it kind of lived up to the hype as release happened of Conquerors, where I really enjoyed pushing the Atlas. I really enjoyed coming across the different Conquerors. And then event. Well, actually, let's talk about Sirus soon. I'm not going to mention too much about Sirus right now. But yeah, it kind of, the novelty kind of wore off. The Conquerors felt, well, 3 of the Conquerors felt pretty boring after like a few fights. The only one that I think is still a really good boss fight is Drox. That's in my opinion. I think Drox is a good boss fight because there's phases that you can still deal damage, but you still need to dodge everything. Most of the time, there's some big one-shots that can happen. I don't know if other people feel that way, but I really enjoy the Drox fight. I think that's the best thematic
I hadn't
fight.
thought about it before because Drox pisses me off so much, but I suppose it's for a good reason.
Yeah,
because you have to interact, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, yeah, okay. You've definitely wooed me a little to his side now.
Oh, good. Yeah, Drox fan.
I love Veritania, but if
Yep,
she had
same.
phases,
Yep.
ooh, that would have been Chef Kiss.
Oh.
Really.
I think she's really cool as well. I like her because she does enough damage that you still actually have to dodge her stuff, and the storm. A lot of people hate like all the storm and that you can hide in there, but I feel like luring her out is also a little bit of like part of the skill of the fight.
Her lure mechanic needed to be fixed too, right? She could get stuck in there.
Yes.
Yeah, if she like stays there, that wasn't cool. But
That's
like now that
fucked.
you can lure out,
Yeah.
I mean, I was playing melee in that league. I was playing EQ, so yeah, if you were stuck, I was kind of screwed, like just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
What did you play, by the way? What did you start into Conquerors?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
I remember I played. It was
There
the
you go.
first time I played Cold Dot Vortex.
Oh, cool, nice.
Yeah.
So that probably went pretty well, I would assume.
Yeah, it was really strong start. I had a little bit of trouble getting it to like an CI type state, or I think I needed shavs and all the trappings, and I was playing in a private league.
Yeah.
But once I had that, like I think I ended up going to trade and getting all of that stuff sorted out, and there was like, oh, that build just goes off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was pretty popular during that league because a lot of people were not sure how the bosses went, so they went with like a safe tanky boss killer, and that was a safe tanky boss
that
killer.
slows everything down or freezes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good move. Yeah.
That's a really good choice. Yeah. I mean, I played an Abyssus wearing crit staff EQ jug.
So the meta, right?
That was before the slam rework, by the way. So that was just like, I actually found up a headhunter on that character, my first headhunter, and that was, even though my Atlas was actually bugged. Coming out of the Christmas holidays, I migrated from private league to normal league, and that kind of like scuffed my complete Atlas actually, because it was if you still had like Conquerors spawned when you migrated. You know how they take away your citadels, right? What happens when you migrate? The Conquerors would disappear, but they wouldn't give you your citadels back. So I just like lost 3 citadels. And they only...
I remember I held off migrating for so long, and I was really bored of the character because of this. Oh, you're making me relive it all over again.
Ouch.
Yep, but that's actually how I found out Headhunter, because I stuck with the character because I didn't want to reroll. And then like my currency started piling up because I was just like kept playing, waiting for the fix. Then I had like 50 Exile, still no idea what to play or if my stuff will get fixed. And then the rest was like history, and now I had a belt. But that was a pretty, like, honestly, that league was probably my favorite league in a long time, just from like my story, what I experienced.
The interesting thing is we have not mentioned a single word about Metamorph, which I think sets the tone for the Metamorph League within Conquerors of the Atlas.
I think, honestly, it was a really good choice to put a bossing league on a bossing focused expansion, so people can like know what build to roll. I think that's why it was held so highly. I don't know how you guys feel about Metamorph, but
I still just don't think about Metamorph. That's how I think about it. I don't. I always forget about it in maps these days now. Anyway, like I see the little green things, and then I get to the end of the map and I kill the normal boss and I port out, and I'm like, oh wait, there's a Metamorph in that. I already opened up a new map.
I've done a lot.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh wait, currency. There was things that I could get.
Yep. And yeah, I don't know. The league itself, was it. I think you're right, Yoji. It was a great league to put with the Conquerors.
It's
but I
perfect
think
pairing.
yeah.
It's like wine pairing or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think specifically it was a great league to pair with Conquerors because it was such a boring league, in my opinion. Very, very, very boring. One of the most just like thematically boring in my eyes.
Would it be boring if we
Mm.
got that endgame that was alluded to?
Yeah, there was something, right? Like some sort of extra endgame that was like mentioned or something, and
there's like actual dialogue around it or something.
I
Yeah,
think that happens every league though. I think we're just gonna be we're just gonna be chasing that carrot of end game content each league, and we're never gonna get it. Especially now with the whole manifesto from Chris about kind of really stripping back to the core of each league and making sure it's really, really solid and perfect.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened was like the league design and the way that they go about doing leagues is fine, and it has that end game content because I don't know if you guys have probably seen his GDC talk, right? Yeah. So in that, he says he's looking at like, I think it's 4 pillars of players, and one of them is always interested in endgame content, and they're trying to satisfy all of these types of players' needs. And the only times that they don't is when the devs don't finish it. That's
yes.
And what has been the issue, according like in my interpretation of his like address, his big 2 like docs about it in the last couple of months, was that they would allow the devs to work on pet projects. And I personally think that pushed them from actually focusing on the set scope of the league. And then he said, like, our new focus is this scope and nothing outside of this scope. And to me, I think that means we're going to get a complete league, theoretically. Like, it's going to have each of those pillars in it.
Yep. But we won't get as many like interesting side tidbits that kind of like felt a bit random sometimes, but sometimes really cool stuff
like
came out of these pet
quality
projects.
Gems. Probably
they seem like really weird, But Archmage, for example, was apparently a pet project. It was said in like an interview that there was one dev in GGG who really wanted a mana archetype to work in the game, and that's what eventually, like after all that type of stuff, came out of it. And I think that's a pretty good one.
Yes, that's a pretty good pet project, definitely. Yeah. There is a lot of things that I think will. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm just going to be speculating now. I was going to say there's a lot of things that we might miss from how leagues are going to be made in the future, and a lot of things that might be improved. But I really, really don't know. We haven't had a single league with this new ethos in place from Path of Exile, so all it is right now is speculation. We just have to wait until 3.13 and really see, I guess.
It's exciting times.
My biggest disappointment was like after reading all this manifestos from Chris about how the company was working and changing and trying to adapt, and like after a year of like spectating with this environment and this like world climate, like wanting to see that happen within like their typical work period and see it executed rather than like outside of the typical work period with the extension. I really wanted to see how it would land in the December time space. Like I when I think about what they've been up to and how like they should have had like leave over the holiday period, they should be on leave right now. But from what I know, they're still working. Like most of them are still working. That there is more time dedicated to it. But then I do remember him saying that the like additional time was going to be spent developing 3.14, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm really hopeful that they were able to reach their goals within that 3-month like typical cycle with the reduced, like with the stricter scope, I guess. But I'd love to hear from, like a reflection on how the new development has worked and what changes are going to be making going forward if it didn't work or whatever. Maybe not after this league launches, or maybe, in a few months.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. Like they are surely, like, even if they are working on 3.14 now, like mainly, there's like if there are like still some weird glaring bugs, I would still assume that they will like try like tie up some loose ends and fix up some bugs in the background. So I let's say like this: if this next league is going to be super scuffed again, I'm not very hopeful for the future, and if it's not,
Yes.
then I'm very hopeful for the future. That's basically how it is like right now.
Yeah, I'll put it this way as well. If they're still working on 3.13 right now, then we should be worried. We got no idea, but like if they're using their dev time for 3.13 fixes right now, then yeah, it's not good, because this is, you know, past the extension of what a normal 3-month league is. If they're working on 3.14, then that's great, and then, you know, that also creates a little bit of a buffer for all of the leagues to come, pretty much, because they might be able to get ahead of themselves. It will probably catch up to them, but they might be able to get ahead of themselves and start working earlier on the newer leagues and everything. So yeah, we'll see. But that's future. Let's talk more about the past.
We just went so.
We like tangents here. We love them.
We kind of went next year instead of like this.
Yeah. Whoops.
Oops.
Well, okay. Look, on the intro it says anticipation for 3.13.
Okay. Yeah. We did. Sorry, you know, it was on the page of our, you know, of our notes and everything like that. Okay. Yeah. We're not too far out, but we haven't talked about the biggest fight or the most controversial fight of 2020. I would say it's the most controversial Path of Exile boss fight of 2020, which is Sirus.
Maybe even ever, actually.
Ever, you reckon? Could be. It could be.
Zeri was pretty well liked. Shaper was pretty well liked. Elder, no one really cared about him. He was pretty easy.
Yeah.
What else is there? Like
Uber Elder was kind of liked as well. Uber Elder was almost a mistake. Yeah. They were going to have a enhanced bullet hell within Uber Elder.
Oh no.
But they took
Ultimate
that out.
Chaos.
Which would have not been fun.
It wasn't the trailer. It was actually in the trailer.
Yeah.
If I can say something particularly Australian, bugger that for a joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, bugger that one, please. Yes. It would have seemed like an out of season April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
I mean, they said that no one in the GGG studios could beat the initial version of that Uelda fight, and that's why they like last minute scrapped that move out.
Do you think it was because of bullet hell? I mean, it would be cool to see like no one in the studio could beat thing actually go to
play,
because I reckon there would be some people who would just like
that would be fun. I would.
How would you do bullet hell while Elder's like slamming you?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like comes up, slam, and you're like log out. That's the only thing you can do.
Kind of, yeah. You just have to log it all, yeah. But again, we're not even talking about Sirus. We started talking about other bosses. Oh my goodness.
The controversial boss fight. He was actually changed, but when he was initially released, I think a lot of people had trouble like understanding how he worked, mainly because of the storm phases. I mean, how did your first Sirus attempt or like tries go? Did you like beat him first try? Did you like get completely destroyed like I did? I went in, storm at the entrance. Okay, how does this work? But yeah, how did yours go?
I remember my first attempt.
I did not get to Sirus until after he was changed.
Okay. Okay. How was that experience then?
I'm really sad. Yeah. I wish that I had the point of comparison.
Yeah. I hate when that happens, honestly. When like a difficult content comes out.
But it wasn't predictable. It was RNG about whether you could get there at that point, because we didn't have the Conqueror tracks.
Yeah, that's true.
So on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, you didn't have to grind in that much.
Sometimes safe, but you will never know how that boss fight was.
True, I did forget about the lead up as well. All of it was like RNG, which was crazy. Yeah.
I do recall like trying to do the fight and not knowing the phases, so I was kind of effectively blind. And then for some reason, Steele watched me do the fight in the real play on his stream.
Oh no!
And no. He was actually like he was like really chuffed watching it, because he's like, most people don't normally send me their fails; they want me to see their success.
Awesome! Yeah.
And mine was like, I did not finish this fight. Like I said to you, like going in, I did not win. actually really endeared me to his chat at the time, so that was nice.
Yeah.
But it's like super interesting because I also went in without any prior knowledge because I wanted to experience the fight, and I didn't even touch him the first time because I didn't get how to get him down from his chair. I just didn't understand it. I was like running around like, oh, storms, okay, explore the arena, okay. That's like people. I didn't get it, and then I think it took me like 4 tries. On the 4th try, which was still before the nerf, I beat him once, and then he got nerfed, and then he was like super pushover for my build.
Yeah, I had that experience. I think it was 3rd or 4th try that I did actually beat him. I didn't get him first. I didn't get him down first try, because it was all just walk into the arena, see red explosions everywhere, and then accidentally walk into a storm, or have a storm accidentally walk into me, and then lose all my portals. But yeah, I downed Sirus, and then I downed Sirus a few times. I think I was playing a Sentinel of Purity build, which was really strong at that point.
Yeah, I think that's what you played, yeah.
Yeah, and then the nerf came, and as you said, Yoji, it was kind of just like, whoa, I just learnt how to actually effectively beat Sirus, even with, the storms being randomized a little bit, but you could kind of push them with your placement and all this kind of stuff. There's all these really weird, finicky things that you could do, and I started to enjoy it because I'd figured it out. Before that point, it was really frustrating. I'd figured it out, and then the nerf came to Sirus fight and everything like that, and I was like, oh, hang on.
He never recovered after that.
Yeah.
That's my feeling about the Sirus fight. Like, there was genuine design issues, like, because it didn't work as intended. Like, there were a couple of, things like being trapped on the stairs, or like by storms, I mean, or the way that the storms were moving. But it didn't mean that, like, the change they did was basically like scrap that and just put it there like as a invisible fence post that kills you, essentially. Like, okay, this is the zone, but actually can only use this much of it.
Yep.
Which is not interactive.
Yeah. I mean, it does bring me to a contentious... Sorry, you go, Yoji.
I actually enjoyed the last phase of the fight quite a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like the arena, like the huge arena, doesn't really do much for me. I feel the first 2 phases or whatever, we just like teleports and beams, and you just watch like the Rain of Stars. Basically, it's like one attack that can really get you if you have a tanky character. It's the Rain of Stars if it crits, especially. And the last phase is fun. I like it, but they could have scrapped like the whole storms. But I like the one where it's like does the spinny beams, and you have to actually like maneuver and try to like stay close to him so he doesn't off screen you. I like that part. I like all the other stuff's just like kind of annoying. It's a little bit like Shaper, where you have to like do the 4 stupid bosses each time. It's
like,
why? It's not even interesting.
It's filler
like,
content.
Yeah, like Ubal does cool. You go in, boss fight, bam, cool arena, done. Good fight. Thank you.
What I would have loved in this design was like each of the abilities that he has in the final phase, like one introduced throughout each of the previous phases. So you start with like boring Sirus, who can only kill you 1 stars, and then you bring in one of those abilities in each of those phases so that he gradually builds to his final phase. It's the same monotonous thing, with the only difference is the maze gets bigger. Until boom, he's got all these abilities, and I'm like, where did he get this shit from? Like, what's different now from like the 3 other phases before this, or 2 in this?
He does like Dragon Ball fusion with this dude in the sky. That's like
but like he was doing that throughout the fight. Like, why now?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you're thinking about it from like a thematic point of view when you're designing boss, Sirus is really, really obnoxious. He comes at you. He's like, you're insignificant. I can get you with this one skill, and it's Rain of Stars. Oh, maybe we should take you a little bit more seriously. Let's bring in another skill. And then so on and so forth until, it really was no match for me. Or you were no match for him.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, I think that would improve the fight quite a bit, and also cut out. I still don't like the star stuff that he like pushes you away, and then especially now that's basically like he pushes you away. The storm comes down, just like moves out of the way. You go back in. It's just like it's like an ad break. That's what I always call it. It's like it's an ad break.
I don't mind there being a little tiny downtime, but like if it's like got a specific time period to it and you're waiting, that's boring.
Yeah, so you're waiting. Normally bosses have like ad phases or like some
Mm.
stuff you have to do during like their break periods. Basically, like Aziri, you have to like. I mean, Aziri's ad phase is also not that interesting, but then there's also the split phase, which is kind of interesting in my opinion. It's like one of the more interesting parts.
When you consider the ad phases are like very much designed around your flasks and being able to like refill them, I think the Conquerors of the Atlas expansions really, like it. 4 out of 5 bosses don't have ads. Drox is the only one who has ads.
Yeah.
Al-Hasmin in the trailer has ads. Where did those guys go? I want them back. Like, I'm still mad about them going.
No, I think it's actually cool. I actually like it because the fight is basically, like, unless you want to portal out and waste time, the fight is basically balanced around you having one set of flasks, which I think is completely cool because the fights are not too hard for that to happen. And Sirus, I think, gives you flasks back when these summon storms actually like bumps you up.
Bit, yeah.
Kind of like the Reso does as well. Whenever he goes into his like channeling the next phase, the Reso also gives you flasks back, and I think Sirus does that as well. But yeah, I mean the other fights, Al-Hasmin makes perfect sense to fight without flasks. You kind of want to save your movement flask for when he like starts kiting around, and I think there's some strategy to it. I don't mind it too much.
Biggest issue I have with Al-Hasmin is like if you have like you don't have chaos resistance or you haven't balanced it properly, and then you have a chaos flask, like there's only 2 charges on that.
Yeah.
I think it's because they don't want you to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like you can't withstand his hits otherwise. You just have to dodge.
No, I think they
and you can't withstand the hits of the snake that's in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, you have to dodge them. I think that's one of the points. And the other point is probably, I think with the introduction of Al-Hasmin, they finally went like the final step to basically telling us you need Chaos Res now. It's not optional anymore. You need at least like positive.
Yeah, but like in the start of early mapping, when you first come across him, like I think the first level of Al-Hasmin is like fine, and then as soon as you get your first Watchstone version of him, it gets harder. And if you don't have Chaos Res by that point, and I still don't think it's that like gear isn't at the point where you can get that unless you're in trade and you've got like fat stack.
I think
I always find that and this is on me. I like to push too fast. I like to try and get through everything with as little gear as I can. And so I do find that you know when you get to second or third Al-Hasmin, because by that point, like even if you're playing a CI build, you're probably not transitioned to a CI build yet. Which is tough. But I think it's possible to just kind of be a bit more patient and grind up gear to get some more Chaos Res, even in SSF and that sort of thing. It is possible, but it is kind of just like a hard block.
Counterintuitive, I think, to the players' general approach, or at least like I find that
the general approach, yeah.
Like I don't change my gear that frequently because you pick one piece to remove and you have to redo a bunch of other stuff. It's very infrequent that you would find something that you can sub out without having to rebalance everything.
Yeah. And I kind of like the extra strain on like gear requirements a little bit. I found it like at least it was a good change of pace of like normally like especially if you play a build that you used to, you can like go to your like step 1, 2, 3, always the same like gearing steps, cap resist, get this much life at this point, whatever. I kind of like that it threw me off a bit. I actually enjoyed that, but it is tough, especially I think if you're like new to the game and you basically ignore Chaos Res for the most part, and then suddenly like hey, this guy okay, and poison as well. Like you I mean back then you could still get poison immune, right, from the Pantheon, which was you.
Yes, that was almost a like just like a
if you
just get that and you're
Shakari,
just fine with Al-Hasmin.
Yeah, Shakari.
Yeah, it was poison. It was unaffected by poison or something. Oh no, it wasn't immune to poison. I can't remember. It was
literally immune to poison.
Silly.
It was immune to poison.
It was so nice. It was like
it's pretty good.
Oh, I want it back.
Yeah.
I'm happy it's gone. It's like it was so mandatory. But it was.
I'm pretty happy it's gone as well. Actually,
it did help though. back to like Metamorph League a little bit. We talk about Sirus. I think we all said like I really like Pie's suggestions. I think that was like one of the best takes I heard so far on like the whole Sirus fight. I think that would have made the fight at least like 10 times better.
I've been saying this for a year, and I just
I was just thinking actually before we move on from Sirus. I know that we're wildly behind schedule with what 3 other leagues to still talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No. This always happens. Don't worry. The Sirus fight could have been interesting instead of like, you know, each of the storm phases where he goes up in the air. He still goes up into the air, but it's more of like a mini storm bullet hell phase. Not as crazy as Shaper's bullet hell. Slower, smaller little tornadoes that you can weave between. All you just have to do, you get pushed away, but you just have to weave back through the storms back to where Sirus is standing, right? And so you can do that slower if you're not as confident, or you can learn how the patterns work and you can do it faster, right? Those kind of mechanics are cool, where it does split the fight up, but you can learn how to do it quicker. Or you can have an aura stacker and just run through them. I don't want to talk about aura stacking. Okay, let's not talk about aura stacking. Let's move on.
It's in the topic list.
Oh no! Who wrote it in the topic list? I refuse to talk about aura stacking.
All right, let's do 2 more things about this league. The first one was I think the loot, just the loot of Sirus I think is pretty good, held up really well. Thread of Hope, Crown of the Inward Eye, Savior did get a nerf, but that wasn't really good as well. Awakening Orbs, I think it's like even Ivory Tower is pretty usable. I think there's some
like that was an
awesome
hero. Everyone
Ivory.
thought it was kind of meh, and now it's like.
Super strong. I think it's super strong. Way stronger than people still think, honestly.
I mean, Ivory Tower, when it came out,
it's sleeper loot.
Yeah, true.
When Ivory Tower came out, there was no Archmage. I actually played Ivory Tower live when there was no Archmage. Right. And that wasn't that great back then.
No, that's actually true. Yeah. I did forget about that. Yeah.
I only know because I played it and realized it's just there was no reason to use it over Sharps, basically, at that point. But then, like, next league, there was Archmage, and then stuff happened. But yeah, let's talk about League. It was Bow League. Anyone remember that?
Oh, true. Who remembers Bow League?
You just checked W. Bow League, by the way. How many bow builds did you guys play? Like, holy...
I don't think I've ever played a bow build,
Maybe
so...
I
Yeah, I no.
I didn't play a bow build in
All right, let's sum that up. How do you feel Catalysts held up?
I think Catalysts are a cool addition. Blanket statement, I think they're really cool.
I think there's too many of them for like how relevant they are. Like, it's just quality, and you only really need a few, and the amount of them you get, you can't. Yeah, I don't know. They do a little bit, but the impact is not that much on gear crafting and stuff. It's sort of like if your thing is crafting, then we'll help. It was helping a lot with
Yeah, it's really good for crafting, basically.
Yeah,
because it enables, like, makes the mods more likely that they improve. Like if you put a life catalyst on, you have a higher chance of rolling life modifiers, for example.
But then
they're actually really cool.
Shitty ones that you never really use, right? And then
there's life. There are actually ones for every build, right? It's like life mana for. There's defensive for ES builds, life mana for like Archmage and life builds. There's attributes for stat stacking. There's actually pretty good ones, and they also affect unique, so they're really good ones.
I think there's definitely enough. There's niche, for any sort of loot, there has to be ones that are better, and there has to be ones that are worse.
Yeah. But I know, but like
all of them are
when they go core
usable.
Like, how many? Like, we were sifting through like mounds of them during the league because we were seeing Metamorphs in every instance. But when you do the 10% version of it, and then you can acquire them through other means, of course. I still don't think you come across them in the same quantities.
Oh, not at all. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm like a crap player, so I'm bringing the pleb POV, right? I just don't think you get enough of them, especially in an SSF environment, if you're not playing Delirium or anything.
That's definitely true, yeah.
Like,
totally.
For them to be like properly relevant. Like, I was trying to use one in crafting, and I was like, okay, cool, I've got one of the ones that I need. Here's 5%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That is true. SSF is yeah, I still don't know if it's good enough or was good enough. I don't know. Heist did introduce a lot of loot. Just a lot of loot
Yes.
in general.
Uh-huh.
So I think in Heist it's been okay for SSF players from that point of view, from the catalysts and
I mean, there's an SSF,
oils
there's
as well,
the,
but yeah.
what's it called, like a 5-to-1 recipe, whatever it is. So you can like
Yeah.
3-to-1. That's kind of
3-to-1,
helping
yeah.
because you get a lot of the low value ones, like the attribute and whatnot. So you can like kind of trade them up a bit. But you need like 20 per piece you want to upgrade, and that's a lot. So in
Yeah.
SSF, I mostly use them for crafting, and you like the upgrading you only ever want to use on a piece where you are like 100% sure you never will change this. So let's say you're
Yes.
Archmage and you found a Azura's foible, yeah, you put your mana catalyst on that. That's an easy choice.
Yeah.
But if you found like a really good belt, but then you find like a really, really good belt like 2 days later, you're like, crap, I need 20 more life catalysts. That's just not good.
And the other thing is with the crafting, like if you do it on a white base, kind of like chisels and that sort of thing, you only need 4 of them.
Yeah.
But
The crafting
you
uses
have to
up
be
the
careful
quality.
that you have to be careful that you don't like. I think it's like Exalt Slam or Influence It or anything that like
Also chaos,
adds them
like
onto
anything.
what is. Does it chaos really?
I think anything.
There's
that
some
rolls,
stuff that doesn't. I can't remember what doesn't affect it.
I think chaos does.
I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, there's something that does affect it and something that doesn't. I don't know. Chaos does not, apparently. Chat is saying in the
Chaos
in the
is
live
fine.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that? Is it Regal? Exalt definitely does. Augment, I think also.
I think it's stuff that just adds an extra mod while keeping the previous mods.
Huh.
Adding an affix. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think So you can still use it that way, but then it's obviously on any sort of unique, it's pretty tough to get everything that you do need outside of a trade league.
Yep. In Trade League, it's really boring because you just buy 20 and put them on once you finish.
Yeah. So I wanted to say like I know SSF can be like a little bit of another self link, but I think the game needs to function independently of trade, and then trade is like an enhanced way of playing the game rather than I'm with you. But I still think like the game design needs to hold up without outside influences of other people's gear. Basically, that's why I think about things from that perspective.
For all the listeners on the audio version of the podcast, Yoji just held up his SSF, by the way, mug, which, Yoji, can you still buy?
Yes, you can buy 2 versions of this on my merchandise stuff, which can be found in the video description below this YouTube video.
And if you're listening on Spotify, then go to Yoji's YouTube channel and buy one of those mugs. They're great. I've not bought one yet, but I haven't told Yoji that. I'm sorry, Yoji. I hope you will forgive me.
No, but that's fine. You can still buy one at some point.
They're not limited edition yet. Will they ever be limited edition?
I hope not.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, why buy the one then?
That's so mean. Okay, moving on. Delirium League.
That was really mean. I'm sorry, Yoji. Yeah.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm used to it. Delirium League.
Delirium, let's go.
Second try of this amazing segue. Talking about really mean, when Delirium League started out, it was really difficult. Like, anyone else found that? And they kind of like had to nerf it.
I loved it.
You like to be like completely dunked on by a corpse explosion mechanics. Tell me more about it.
No, I don't like the corpse explosion bit, but the level of difficulty that, aside from the random explosions killing you, like, remove landmines as a mechanic design choice, and I think the difficulty was perfect, and nerfing it was you need time. People need time to like take something seriously and then readjust, but it takes time to get to that point. And I just think they might have acted too soon on that.
I loved Delirium. Delirium was my favorite league. I didn't have any personal qualms with Delirium. I loved how rippy it was. I love that you could die in a blink of an eye. I liked the pressure that it gave you each map to kind of go fast. It did tire me out yes.
Yeah, it does.
I got exhausted of it, but I don't think I ever disliked it or didn't enjoy running it. And I think that's still the case.
I just missed the
with
old
Delirium.
version. I miss the stakes being higher.
Yeah, but I know that's also a contentious point of view, a contentious topic to kind of talk about, because I can also see it from the other point of view. But like, I like zooming. I really do. I am a zoomer, and I like zooming.
The Abyss cracks, man.
Yeah.
I remember everyone going, okay, so this was the first league that interacted with other league content.
That's
so cool. Like, that was oh god, that was so exciting. Although the Abyss cracks looked absolutely awful.
Oh, you're like, later, shoot, other direction.
Yeah, and then they like had big squares of non-fog with them. Oh, that was weird.
It was a bit tricky. Yeah. I felt like I honestly I was tired out by Delirium after a while as well. I like the initial difficulty. I like that I sometimes had to stop because I couldn't keep going through the fog, and not because the map ended or like the fog like outpaced me or whatever. And I preferred that over having like basically trying to or getting to the end of the map every time. I'm really happy they reacted so fast on the visual clarity side, because even with Metamorph, that was an issue where it was like black goo everywhere. What the hell is happening? You would, I'm dead.
Metamorph black goo.
And then they're like, okay, now it's fog everywhere. Oh, pops, explosion, I'm dead. What the fuck was happening? And I was a bit annoyed about that at that point, I have to admit. So I'm happy they fixed that really quickly, like making stuff red and all that. But
You know the little volatiles? Like, I feel like when they first introduced them, because you know how to, like, a normal volatile, if you run through it explodes, it didn't work with these. They would like
they were instant.
They just followed you forever.
And they were instant. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were completely uninteractive.
They just like
pretty interesting.
I mean, you could outrun them; they would eventually stop, but they followed you quite some distance. And
oh my god, I just remember
and they were great.
And if there were doors, there were doors. If there were doors in that map,
doors. Yeah,
we'll get to
always
doors
back
later.
to doors. We'll get to doors. Yeah. Oh dear, doors.
That league was particularly poorly matched with any map that had walls and doors.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And they even said initially that they kind of like wanted to take that into account, that like not only a certain type of map was good for it. They said that with Legion back in the day as well, that they in indoor tight corridor maps they wanted to make it have more pack size. That didn't quite work out. Legion in indoors is pretty crap. And again with Delirium, it also really didn't work out because there were like basically two really OP maps for Delirium, and everything else was kind of like whatever. You either run Tropical Islands for insane rewards, or you run what's the other one? Burial Chambers was really good, and I think Lair was really good. That was like the three that people ran at the time.
Malformation was pretty crazy as well.
I think people just don't like the boss. I think that's why most people try to not run it, because the boss is really annoying compared to the other, especially like compared to freaking Tropical Island Monkey Dude.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
And bam, 100 splinters. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but you're 100% correct. There were great maps, and then there were most of the maps that were not great maps for
like
Delirium.
Normal. I mean, Delirium was still the best loot we ever had, and the most pack size we ever had from any league mechanic.
Yeah, it was great for killing stuff, which is what you wanted in an ARPG.
Yeah.
They gave us more rewards, like as if it wasn't already super rewarding.
It was already
the
most rewarding league, and then they like insanely buffed the rewards up. At that part I did not get it. Until this point, I don't get it.
I have no idea how those things happen. It's like there's some sort of, there's some sort of third party like online forum or something like that people talk on and like complain on or something like that.
Oops,
I don't know.
No,
it's fine. No, I was making a joke, but you ruined the joke, Pie.
Yeah.
There is an online
yes,
forum.
Reddit.
There is an online forum.
There is an online forum.
There's one on the website too.
Yeah.
That's one there as well. But it's usually way less. How do I say this nicely? Way less critical in a aggressive fashion.
Yes. True. Yeah.
Than this other forum.
I was going to mention something at the start when we were talking about conquerors and that sort of thing as well, and This might be a little bit, people might have different opinions on this as well, but especially with some of the buffs, GGG has an easy time just kind of jumping on a fix too quickly, in my opinion, like way too quickly, before we as players have actually understood the mechanic or come to terms with the mechanic. And, there's pluses and minuses to that, and we probably talk about that in Heist as well, a little bit. But I just wanted to put that there. That's the one thing that I am hoping changes, is quick fixes that are actually not fixes, that are just removals or additions of more loot or less difficulty. I think are kind of annoying.
But not at the same time.
Yeah.
Either more loot or less difficulty.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a bit more. Was a bit ham-fisted. Just like, okay, crank the difficulty like down, and then loot to 11, and then
a couple of knobs, just like.
Yeah, just like,
there we go.
Okay, twist all the knobs, let's go. And then, okay, visual clarity knob, okay, that was nice. Then difficulty down, okay, I can see why some people would be like, okay, I wanted to play like maybe, like, let's say you started like freaking Glacial Hammer or whatever. I think Delirium probably was just like completely stomped you. I can see like turning that down, but at that point, don't up the loot. I mean, if the loot is then after like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 days, it's still annoying or like bad for people, then by all means. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was at that before the buffs. It was the most rewarding league we had, and then they buffed it. That's super weird.
Oh yeah.
Something really good about Delirium, by the way. No matter if you like the league or not, I think most people really like cluster jewels, right?
Agreed.
Or is there any other hot takes here? Because I'm like, the current state is a bit different.
I do have a hot take on cluster jewels, but it's not that I don't like them.
Okay.
I viciously object to the interview that Chris gave with Ziggy following Delirium League, where he mentioned the implementation of Delirium League in the following league.
Yes, I remember
Harvest.
Harvest, yeah.
And he said, it's not that he didn't want them to go core. It's that the implementation of them being still tied to Delirium. He was against it until someone in the office said to him, you have to have some kind of reward that is unique to this league. And I was like, the uniques from the league are unique to the league? Like,
I mean, the
it is
uniques are also
super
jewels,
obvious.
right?
Like, thematically and lore-wise, there is nothing written on cluster jewels tying them to Delirium. They were arbitrarily dragged into this league as a way of introducing them, but there is nothing about them that makes them Delirium. They're just a mod for your passive skill tree.
It's only the unique jewels, like split personality. That makes sense with Delirium,
sure,
right? Like this,
absolutely.
you going crazy,
Voices.
megalomaniac, voices. Those make sense, but the other ones, you're right.
No. I'm still mad about this.
It's very true.
I'm mad about this. And I don't like that his justification was that explanation, because I was like, yo, like you're contradicting yourself with that statement right now. And I'm still mad.
Yeah, I agree. Like, cluster jewels are awesome, and they deserve to be in the game. They're great for build diversity. They're, it just makes it more difficult to balance the game, but there's always going to be overpowered things and underpowered things every single league, so it's fine. That's just how a game like this goes. It's also a good business model. I'm not going to get into that. I had a really good talk to one of my brothers for like 3 hours about this, but like, having things OP and underpowered is amazing for games. Anyway, cluster jewels, really good for the game. They should be just completely base. Oh, it's a really juicy topic. But
it's going to be another episode, I feel.
It'll be another episode,
that episode.
Yeah. Cluster jewels deserve to be, in my opinion, in the core base game is not tied to Delirium. I think they're thematic enough to be a Path of Exile item and not a Delirium item. That's a really good point, Pi. Yeah, really good.
Also, in chat, there's another like an extension of my point, which is like maybe if every league didn't drop all the rewards from the previous league, like the rewards they drop themselves would feel more special.
Yeah, if they, I mean,
Yeah.
Delirium itself was very, very guilty of this because it can drop
Oh.
rewards from any league with all the symbols, and the
Yeah.
simulacrum is probably the highest source of almost all other league content ever, like splinters for everything, breach stones, scarabs.
Where did it start? Was it Legion? Was it before Legion? I remember.
Betrayal a little bit, because it was kind of like these
True.
safe houses were a bit thematic to like specific types of stuff. Like you have Intellect Flat who drops like breach stuff. I think that's why I kind of like started to sneak in. But Legion started the symbols.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it was
Legion
Blight.
started
Wait,
the
Blight
symbol.
was before Legion or after? Hang on.
No, Legion came first.
Blight
Black came
was after Legion.
Legion was
They-
the symbols, right? When we started getting
Legion
those
was the
actual
symbols that
Yeah.
started like the like making it a system, the recognizable system.
Wait,
it
did
in
Delve
UI.
have a little bit of that?
Yeah, Delve has a little bit as well. Yeah, Delve does.
I don't know if I would agree that like the way Delph.
But
Mm.
Delve has never been the best source of it.
Yes.
While Legion was the best source
True.
of those specific things, right? Like
Yeah.
Legion became the best way to get everything because it was
Yeah,
so
Actually,
rewarding. I
Delve
think-
had like maybe one or two
Legion-
other league
Legion
stuff.
also
Yeah.
had the Grandmasters, or was it? No, what are they called? You know, like it's fight,
The
like it's boss
Timeless Eternal,
thing.
whatever
That
they
thing.
are. Yeah.
That was the loot pinatas. Do you remember the
Yeah.
ridiculous rows of loot across the bottom? So we're not talking about legions themselves, but as a league itself, it brought you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
scads. Lots of synonyms for lots, please. Heaps. I'm Australian.
Yeah, heaps. Use that one.
Is that an Australian type of heat?
Apparently.
Okay.
I
Apparently,
don't know.
use
I
that
think
a
it's more
lot.
universal than that, right? But
I
it
use that
sounds
heaps,
more
so-
Australian than other ones. I'm sure there's a more Australian one.
Yeah, chockers.
I'm not Australian. Chockers, yes.
Okay.
Chockers.
Chockers.
Chockers
I've
full.
never heard that one.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Chockers is Australian
Chockers.
slang for chock-a-block, which is also Australian slang.
Yeah. We like making slang on slang.
It's like
pretty
meta
good.
slang, all right?
Yeah, so chock-a-block just means like there's so many that it's like
Yeah.
Lot.
It's like
what? Yeah.
a lot of like blocks. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Slang it all. Yeah.
Learning Australian
Um,
slang. Let's go.
We'll do an Australian slang episode as well. And then we'll do
Yeah.
a German slang episode.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, at one point I had to make about we kind of danced around visual clarity with Delirium. Like I feel Noogie said it really well at the time. He was like, when I think about how other game companies would have approached it, trying to increase the difficulty by obscuring things with fog, I always pictured that it would start out around the edge, and then as it got more difficult, your field of view would close in.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I would have loved to have seen that. And then secondly, I love that they did bring in colors to make it easier to see elements within Delirium Fog, but the colors didn't have any meaning to them. Like the league and the flavor and theme, the identity, like the reason that they were red or blue, like the kinds of things that they were bringing in, it didn't
I
make.
think it was mostly red, right?
Yeah, it's mostly red, and it was
Mm,
like, okay, I
It
don't.
looks a little bit like
like,
what's called Sin City, that like comic book movie. Looked a little bit
I
like
wonder
that.
if
yeah.
it would have just been like if they could have done it without doing it with color, but like still making it visually distinct.
Yeah.
Because the game has a massive history of ignoring colorblind people, and
Yes.
it's not that I want to design only for colorblind people, but I think the way that you do things, like you don't just slap a coat of paint on it, that was kind of the fix. And I feel like, maybe there would have been other ways to go about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, my younger brother has what's red green colorblind? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, he's colorblind, and Path of Exile is always hit and miss with every league of can I understand this? And
Every
that
boss
might be a
fight.
transition into Harvest, which is the next league, because
No, wait,
oh
wait,
boy
wait,
was
wait.
that bad.
One
No?
thing.
One more?
Add one
Okay,
thing
one-
important.
There's so many things.
One
to
more,
talk
one more,
about
one more,
Delirium.
one more. All right, all right.
I think the one thing that Delirium did best of all leagues last year was like the set of skills, new skills. That
Yeah,
introduced
exciting
was
skills.
was my favorite set. Was the blade
Yes.
rework, the blade blast, blades stuff like explosion and BV and what's got EK rework. Animate weapon with that became suddenly a usable skill, which was crazy cool.
Oh, that's what I started with. Animate weapon in Delirium. There we go.
Yeah, the whole Spellslinger stuff, that was really interesting. Archmage, as I mentioned before, it's like one of my favorite archetypes. And I also put Stormbind, which we don't talk about, but
We should if we're talking about skills, we need to talk about aura stacking.
And aura stacking is.
Okay.
Which had a mid-league nerf, which we hadn't had in
that
forever,
is so
ever.
significant in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very sorry to the two of you for kind of trying to jump to Harvest. There is more things to talk about here.
Yeah.
You are right.
I think.
Yeah. Aura stacking was. I have strong opinions. I'm not going to talk first on aura stacking.
Now.
Go. Strong opinions. Let's go.
Say it!
Okay, so aura stacking is a blight on Path of Exile for the foreseeable future. Something happens where I think it might have been inevitable because aura bots in the game have been a thing for quite a while and they're really cool. And I love, supports and everything like that and, having supports for other people. But it's come to a point now where we can't nerf aura stacking too much without nerfing aura bots and supports. In my opinion, I've looked at a bunch of it and I'm like, wow, that's kind of rough. And I think having OP things is really good. Having aura stacking being OP in Delirium, I was fine with that because I was like, this is Delirium League. There's an OP thing every league, right? Then, well, it was kind of Herald stackers, wasn't it? Which is, I guess, is kind of the same.
It's like a different way of aura stacking than we have now, but it was still stacking aura effectiveness to the extreme, right?
Yeah. And then there was aura bots in Harvest, and then there was aura bots in Heist, and I was like, hang on, aura bots are the overpowered thing here, and it's gonna continue, right? And I saw Yoji shrugging there, again, for those who are listening just to the audio version. I think it's a pretty big thing, but Yoji, what do you think about aura bots just being, aura stackers being overpowered, and do you think there's a way around the nerf there, if there was to be a nerf? So, I felt like you had an opinion there.
Yeah, I do have an opinion. I think the mid-league nerf was weird. It was OP,
yes.
Let it be completely OP for a league. Even the nerf didn't make it. It was the best build when it got nerfed. They cut down the power by like 80%. It was still the best build by a mile, or 100 miles. And it's even now, after like some more nerfs, it's still the best build by a significant margin. And I feel
it takes
eventually
more to get it there, though, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot to get there, which
there's not a lot of.
Yeah. Makes it justifiable that it is existing, that it takes, you need like 100 Exalt plus budgets to like make it work properly. Which at that budget you can make everything pretty ridiculous, but not as ridiculous as this build because nothing scales as well with investment. I think it's not an issue that this exists for a bit, but if it's always the go-to best build archetype, at some point people will get bored of it because there are people who will just come into each league and play the best thing each league.
Yeah,
and if it's all
people who chase hot.
What's the same with Winter Orb? Like some people played Winter Orb for like as long as it was OP. Before that they played 15 leagues of Tornado Shot, and before that they played whatever was meta back then. And it's
yeah.
We have to,
I disagree that people will get bored of it.
Those people, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad. Like nerf aura bots, I don't care. I like at some point aura bots, like even if you put aura bots back to where they were before you introduced cluster jewels, aura bots and party play with aura bots was still the best way to play the game at that point to make currency in trade league. I played an aura bot back before I made content, when I was playing in a guild and hardcore trade. I played aura bot quite a bit. When
the
Guardian
thing that
came
makes
out,
aura bots balanced is the fact that you rely on someone else being there.
Yes.
Whereas
I was going to make that point.
Stacking on your own is
self-support, basically.
It's not fair.
A nerf
you can't be your own support. I mean, like, I wish I could be.
You can be. It's aura stacking.
It's aura stacking.
No, I mean in real life, like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. There's no aura stacking in real life. That would be OP.
Yeah. A nerf to aura bots, I think, is just it's steering further into this game being a single player only game, and it's I disagree with there being. I think they're in a really good spot. That's what I should say, because they are overpowered.
Yes.
Right. But the underpowered part of it is you do have to party, and you have to wait for both of you to be online, and you have to communicate, and you have to, there's that kind of nerf there.
Okay, now I get what you mean, but I think the margin by which they are to like OP right now is just not needed. You don't need that much power. You didn't even need that much power as you can get in like party play, I feel. And even if you...
question. Do you think that, because I'm pretty sure you can AFK in any major boss fight, right? That's always been... like, you won't get one shot by any, right?
Yeah, with like aura stacking?
Yeah.
I
remember people AFK in storms with aura
very
stacking.
expensive ones still, yes.
Yeah, really?
The end game, yeah.
I think Shaper Bolts are actually surprisingly tricky to tank because they have so much penetration.
True, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That was the thing, that they came in a league after Sirus was introduced and then made a mockery of our new boss. Because you could AFK in the storm.
Yeah.
Let alone, like, that storm for any other build, if you touch it, you die. Like, I don't know. I think that's a level of power that is entirely unnecessary for the game.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not even power creep, man. That power's crept. It's already there.
So power is
straight to over 9,000. Yeah, it's what's
yeah, true. Yeah.
I think aura stacking will eventually get toned down like a bit, just because the meta would be a bit stale if they stayed there. I would still like them to be like a viable build. They will get, if they're not the most OP build, they will get cheaper, right? Because not as many people will play them. They're just so expensive.
The new type of build. I love that came out of the league, but it is like in its form is not finished. Is my opinion.
I'm gonna be harsh, but like nerf aura stacking as much as they nerf tornado shot and winter orb. I don't care. Get it out of here.
They can eventually, but they can bring back some other.
I know
stuff.
that's harsh, but yeah. Sorry, Yoji.
Do you think winter orb really that bad?
Yeah,
it was so broken. It was disgustingly crazy. Yeah,
it was.
I played it before it was. Well, I don't know if it was before, but like so early in the piece that it hadn't like established itself as broken. I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Winter was really fun. I actually avoided playing it because I didn't want to spoil myself with the playstyle, and I'm happy I did, because I think a lot of people still struggle to find a build that feels as good to play as this. I think BV maybe comes close for some people because it's like a similar cast, and then you can run for a while playstyle, but
yeah.
And that was kind of the old way that brands worked too.
Yeah, they don't like that type of playstyle. I think BV might be like next on the shopping block. Like just like as we talk about this, it might.
I think so. Yeah,
it might be the next one.
Don't say it'll happen. Then they'll introduce another kind of cast and then run skill. It'll be like king for a few leagues and then nerf that, because every time they propose the idea, like it's not like this shit doesn't come from someone at the company and then they go, "Oh, I kind of regret that."
Yeah.
Bro, don't design it and then put it in the game. It's working as intended.
I do want to pull out in chat. Aphelion, it was very OP. Aphelion just mentioned in chat that he killed Uber Elder while hanging upside down on his inversion table with Winter Orb. So, it was one of those builds where you could be outside watering your plants and solo the entire game. You could get on with life and still play Path of Exile.
I never played it to that point.
Yeah.
But
with like the duration and self-temp chains, headhunter and whatnot, you could like channel your winter orb and like run through the map and like channel maybe once more.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right. So much for OP builds. Now I think we can go into Harvest, because at that point I was really close to my heart because I really enjoyed the new skill package we got with Delirium.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Harvest. I'll mention the colorblind thing, but again, yeah, it was really bad to begin with for colorblind people, and my brother just didn't play because he couldn't see the garden. He literally could not see the connections between the colors. They introduced something into that fixed it, but yeah.
You couldn't distinguish like between like which one went where. Oh god.
They were actually all
Oh,
exactly the same, or very, very, very similar.
I remember when we had the trailer video, I was like, oh, not only are they different colors, but the seeds look visually distinct.
Yeah.
And the monsters especially look visually distinct. But when you consider that you can't actually trigger them to be like coexisting with each other. Like you can only pop like one type of seed. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter whether they were visually distinct.
Yeah,
The thing
there was a lot of different
visually
problems
distinct
with it,
was the pylons and stuff.
Yeah. They got like special symbols after like a few weeks, but you know, it's the classic GGG way of implementing a fix to the game after 50% of the players have stopped playing the league, which is tough. And again, we'll see if that happens.
That's the other side of the acting too quick part, right? Like you can either like do like a hasty fix that is basically like ham-fisted changes reacting to whatever the community is crying most about, or you make the change too late and no one sees it because everyone already quit. That's like the downside of like not reacting fast, I guess.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me, if they were gonna, you know, when they like introduce changes, they just put out like a patch notes and stuff. Like, what if they did a bit more work marketing changes to make the game more playable? Like, actually did a video promoting a significant change, like the introduction of symbols and stuff. Like, maybe that would help.
I think it would definitely help. Whether they'd be good, whether GGG would be good at that style of thing, you know, I don't know. They'd have to try it out and test it.
Yep.
I think it would be a good thing. Yeah, totally. His patch notes are just boring.
Yay!
It's a wall of text. Yeah.
We know that everyone in PoE loves reading. That's why so many people take in the lore as well.
Yeah, take their time to read all of the dialogue, and I definitely do for one. I love.
We learned that when we had Noodle on, that like most people experience lore through Noodle's videos apparently.
Through Noodle, yeah, exactly.
Which are really good. But
amazing.
Noodle is the purveyor of lore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Harvest in general, I really enjoyed it as just like a blanket covering over Harvest. I am one of the 3 people I think I know now that liked the garden mechanic and had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, what did you two think about the whole garden mechanic and Farmville sim?
I had dreams about it. I distinctly could go back through my chat history with Bex and be like, there's like a moment where I fell asleep after day 1 and I woke up the next morning and I was like, Bex, I dreamed about the garden. I don't know what that says about Path of Exile. I've never dreamed about Path of Exile before this. So they introduced a game style that is completely unrelated to ARPG, and I dreamed about that. I loved it at the start, but then I do accept the flaw that like if you want to play some kind of built like farming simulator, you don't play that. You play the actual farming simulator because it has the depth. Whereas this was like, you know, once you sorted out the optimal way of doing it, it was never going to change. The issue that I have, and I said this upon seeing the announcement of the league itself, is that it's called Harvest. People call it a garden or farming, and there is no green like anywhere.
Yeah,
it's blue. The font is blue. Why is it blue? Why is the
design
theme of
choice.
this entire league blue? I don't understand. Why is it mechanical? Why aren't we using pesticides and shit? Like, I don't know. I just think the entire composition of the league is not cohesive as a whole in terms of its theme and what it does. And like,
I never really thought about that.
I was upset about it from the minute that we could see the logo for Harvest. I didn't understand the font, which kind of looks like Nordic runes, but then the character looks kind of tribal. And I was
and
like,
you have,
okay,
like these technical things that you build up with like neon color. I mean, I love the neon colors and stuff. I think they look really cool.
they look cool, but they don't look fucking harvesty.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't remind me of Farmer Joe and his pitchfork in Ray Class.
Now I want like a really like beer belly farmer type dude who's like with like a straw hat.
Let's get
Just like a
let's get
I want
real
that type
farming.
of guy now.
Yeah,
Well,
this is
pretty
like
cool, but
honestly, Harvest is like cyberpunk farming in Path of Exile, and I like Raycraft itself doesn't fit this like neon theme. I don't get it. Like it's
it
fine
was
as an
really
MTX,
strange.
you know, shove purple and everything, fine, I'm for it, but it didn't make sense on its own in a league to me.
Yep.
Like
now that you brought it up, it makes so much sense. Yeah. I mean, I think I never questioned it because I like the art style as like independent of the theme. I like how it looked. I like the neon colors. I found the mobs look really fantastic. I was on like the garden. There was something cool about the garden wires and like how they looked, like this neon color themes, and when the juice from the plants went into the pods, it all looked nice. Even the freaking supporter pack, what's called Harvest supporter pack is my favorite one of the bunch. So
oh, it looks.
But
good.
yeah, it makes absolutely no sense.
By the time we were looking at the supporter packs that came out a couple days, like the video and everything, because we like live reacted to them because they got announced the day of our podcast recording.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. If we'd waited a day, we would have had that teaser. Anyway, we live reacted to them, and when all of us saw the Harvest one, we were all like, "This is amazing!" And at that point, or maybe a little bit before it, because I had accepted Harvest is going core, and everybody really loves it because of the crafting and all that stuff. I was like, okay, at this point, if I keep being mad about how it was executed, I'm just gonna be an angry woman. And I don't want to be angry at this game. I love it dearly, but I wanted to, because we are reflecting. That was my thing about this league.
Yeah, it's a good quote. I don't want to be angry at this game. I love it, but that's been my progression through 2020 for Path of Exile, and we'll talk about that in Heist.
I mean, Harvest, honestly, at the point of Harvest, I was still pretty happy. The discussion around it got a bit tedious after a while because it was kind of like always the same stuff. Like people were like, "Oh, I don't like the garden," and then like, "Oh, but the crafting is great." No, but it's too OP. No, but I don't have that much time to play. And like I've been through this like so much, and there's good points on either side, and you have to kind of find a balance. I think that's what it comes down to. And
so my point of view, my position in this argument, excuse me, is I don't think at any point someone who doesn't have the time to invest in the game should ever get perfection.
I agree.
Yep.
Perfection should be a long-term grind or a somewhat shorter-term grind if you are in the upper 0.0000001% of players who produces cash like that. And there is really, like, there's not enough of people in that area. Like, that's fine. Strive long-term for perfection, but it should be something that you get, like, something to the point where you can compete with the environment that you're in. Like, it comes back to the aura stacking thing again. Like, the PDPS or DPS type weapons that we were seeing showcased throughout this league were millions of damage above what was necessary to engage with.
Yep. It's true. It's true. There is perfection in Path of Exile, and it's always overkill. Perfection in Path of Exile is always overkill. You can do everything in the game very far off perfection. But it all comes back to, for me, Path of Exile at its core being an action RPG, being about the grind. It has always been an extremely grindy game. And the more that we take that away, the more that we take the core identity of Path of Exile away. That sounds a little boomer, but that's my opinion. With Path of Exile, yeah.
I think that the whole harvest crafting and like a little bit more deterministic stuff that you can do to gear. Also, my main like thing that I fell in love with about the harvest crafting was that you can upgrade and change and iterate your gear that you're wearing. Normally, if you have a belt that like caps your resistances and works as is, you can't craft that. You wouldn't take that out and like maybe you slam it because you can add to it. But even then, some builds that can ruin like your elemental equilibrium and whatnot, you can always ruin your gear. And Harvest allowed you to take a piece of gear and incrementally improve it over time. And make it into something like an actual crafting project. People will always call like crafting projects, but it's only just like most of the time it's mostly just like tossing like orbs at an item and gambling for the most part, which is not as interesting as making
I like
a plan.
that improve over time thing, but like being able to like store up, infinite numbers of what were the thing that they went into?
Hoarding crafting stations.
Yeah. So being able to like just like have quad tabs full of hoarder crafting stations that had all the craft that you need, and then like produce that in very, very large quantities. There were too many people able to do that.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
In my opinion, and I still hold that opinion, I thought that Jax typed in chat hoardy crafting station. Yeah, people were just hoarding tons of crafts. And when they said that, like, a lot of people were worried when Harvest was announced that there was no hoardy crafting station announced. They said you will have to use the crafts as they come from the plants in that moment or lose them. And then people were like, oh, but that's going to be like Betrayal, where you have a crafting bench and then you don't have anything to use it on. I think that was a mistake to cave into that, honestly. I think especially making them infinite was even more of a mistake. Like, if limiting them to maybe like very few crafts you can store, that would have been fine. But making them infinite, making them storable, sortable, as easily tradable with like some third-party means. But if you want, you can trade them. I think that was the mistake. I don't think that would be this big of an issue. Yes, you can still make crazy stuff, but you would have to actually have to grind for it. You would have to farm lots and lots of seeds to get the right craft at the right moment to upgrade your gear, and it would take longer. Yeah, it would still be faster. You could still do deterministic stuff, but you can change those ratios. But you can't balance around that massive amount of quad tabs full of 40 craftings. So in my opinion, you just remove Hordes and be fine. But I don't think people...
Horde stations were,
I think that, in my opinion, that's the main issue. The other thing that I said when you had big ducks on you could also tweak it from the mod side on the items. If there wasn't anything guaranteeable, if there was one more fizz mod on a chess piece, you couldn't guarantee Explodey. That would already fix one big issue. You could do that but you would have to redo the whole affix system of PoE, and that's probably a huge undertaking we won't see in quite a while.
Yes, there's I think I do agree. Order crafting stations were the sleeper problem of Heist. I don't think it was talked about as much as just like either Harvest crafting is the best thing to ever happen to this game, or Harvest crafting ruined Path of Exile. Those were the two opinions. That was the tedious discussion I mentioned. Yeah, exactly. But Hoarder crafting stations, I agree. I think if we had one Hoarder crafting station per color, would be okay. Just being able to save your 3 most important, things for, an item that you want to craft or something like that. That creates, a lot of choice with what you're saving, what you're using now, and all that kind of stuff as well. It was just an instant problem being able to store Hoarder crafting stations in Dash. It was instant. It was fun. I'm not gonna lie. Harvest was a lot of fun. Storing a bunch of things and gambling with them and making crazy cool items we'd never be able to make again. It was so fun. But
for a league, maybe,
for a league, yeah.
I'm just curious, Pi, how crazy did you go on like the crafting stuff? Did you play SSF? Did you go like basically just like what you had, or did you go trade? Did you
I think I was
hoard
in a
hoard your
private league
crafting?
again.
Private league, yeah.
I got burnt out on League.
Oh no.
I don't know. I found like the garden itself and like the barrier to entry, like just I lost interest in it.
I can see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah, like I did craft some stuff, but I didn't make any perfect items. I just knew that it was possible because I had seen so much like a proliferation of other people doing so. And I don't even feel like I missed out. In fact, I've just been spending like most of this league dreading this new league come core in January.
Yep. So you're not looking forward to it.
Just, I personally, I've only this year really started to interact with crafting in Path of Exile, and I was coming to understand, you know, like the previous ways of doing so. What we could achieve with currency, what we could achieve with fossils, what we could achieve with essences. From this was a direct result of doing private leagues and solo self-found, and putting like myself in a pressured environment where I could craft more instead of just resident sleep and buy it. And I found that like it was just a little bit too much for me to think about after like what I consider this year to have been a very like big learning curve. And I just don't, I'm dreading having to learn this new way of crafting. And if it's anywhere near as strong as the previous one is, then all of the work that I've done and learned this year is void, and I have to learn this instead. It's not that I don't want to, it's just like I've had a lot in my brain this year.
Yeah.
And trying to learn it now is just like,
yeah.
It's going to be hard to absorb the information now. That's my problem.
Yeah.
I think that's
as
true,
a personal struggle. I accept that. No.
Yeah, I actually believe that learning the previous ways of crafting will actually be a huge benefit for learning like how harvests interact with that, because there's also really cool stuff you can do with like previously, for example, fossil crafted item guaranteeing some modifiers, and then you like harvest modifiers. You could do like really cool chess pieces with like additional curse and whatnot with that. So there's, if you know the previous methods, you basically unlock even more parts of the harvest system as well with that that interact with each other. So I think in that way it's still not completely wasted time.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it's an interesting one. The whole changing up how we craft in Harvest. It is happening. It's coming back. We just don't know how as well. That's another
thing. We don't know how, like, at
no
all,
idea
right?
how.
Yeah, if it's
I'm
the
just
garden,
praying
like
for no
I'm
water
filled
crafting.
with fatigue thinking about it.
I think a lot of people hope that it will be very, very simplified, very toned down on the annoying micromanagement. I think a lot of people hope that will be the case, simply because having to redo it every league will be mean. But there's also lots of like stuff I'm looking forward to with it. Is for example, there's like the harder Uber Labs, which I think are kind of cool. Infused beachheads and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the winged
super
scarabs.
so
There was like
happy
lots of.
I'm
there was
very
lots of
happy
cool
with
content.
this. I was very excited for Suit when the lab thing was
First
announced.
lab
I was
update
like, oh
in
my
like
God.
years.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
Too bad it's not going to be here in PoE 2. Goodbye,
I'm curious how that will go. Yeah, but that's true.
I didn't even think about that, but it's super
some
far
sort
away
of lab
that
that's
way.
way better.
Yeah, it's still so far away. It feels like there's a lot
so far away.
A lot.
I'm thinking 2023 now.
I wonder if we will even have this endgame once PoE 2 rolls around. The next one.
Oh, I don't think so.
But yeah. There was also like another rework. There were 2 reworks. I think brand rework, which I didn't interact with before the rework and after the rework much, and slam rework, which is very close to my heart because I personally enjoy it.
The slam rework was fun for sure.
Yeah, really I think it's like good. a very I think I talked about this like 15 billion times on the podcast, but I think they nailed that rework. While at the same time, I sometimes now feel a bit weird about how mandatory war cries are for slam builds.
Like the rework was very dependent on war cry.
Yeah, the slam, when you say slam rework, like you don't need to say war cry rework because they're so closely tied. Which is interesting. I don't know. I haven't given enough thought to that to have an opinion, actually.
I actually enjoy using Warcry, so it doesn't affect me. But I know a lot of people enjoy slamming stuff, but they don't enjoy pressing Warcry buttons.
Mm.
Well, I feel like it still deals with that issue where like simultaneous war cries or having multiple on an item, you basically feel like you got new flasks. So you've got like your regular flask, then your other flask.
Mm. Yeah.
Your special occasion flasks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one thing that I've mentioned a couple of times in Baited Expectations, but I like on the one hand, Enduring Cry is like amazing and I love it, but on the other hand, it's still better than a life flask. And
yeah,
that
I think that's actually an easy fix to it. Something I noticed from playing a lot of Warcries. That's like a really easy fix to it.
They nerfed it and they nerfed the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's true. They nerfed the cooldown, right?
Yeah. And I was like, bro, it should what? Like, look at my life refill from this Warcry.
Yep.
I love this game. I use it. It's compulsory. But like, it just seems not balanced.
I think that's like maybe a little bit of an easy fix to it. Because when you use Enduring Cry, the life regen actually starts before the animation even plays. You press it and your life goes up when the character starts doing the actually pretty long animation, especially if you don't have any investment into it. So you could fix it by having the animation to fully play out before it starts, so giving it a delay.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't know how it would feel on the like probably higher use case where you put call to arms and just like put it on left click and run around.
Still 50% of my builds do that.
Yeah.
When I saw the quotation marks nerf to Enduring Cry, I was like, that's not a nerf. I'm still using that.
Yeah.
Do you still go out of your way to do it, or do you just like pick it up if you path like somewhere near?
Okay, yeah. Put it that way. I wouldn't go out of my way anymore. In Harvest League, I definitely did, and it was always worth it.
But I always put the skill on my bar. Like it's just there now. Like call to arms. I haven't been near in a while. I've been on the other side of the tree, but.
It's good to just have as a click. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's like an extra pot that doesn't take
it's just it's really good by itself. It's fine. It doesn't need that.
I mean, the cast animation is a bit wonky if you are like don't have any investment. I feel so, but that case would actually be fixed by putting the regen start at the end of the animation. Then that's something that always felt weird because I've played way more builds that use Warcries as without call to arms than I played call to arms builds actually because I play so many slams.
I'm now actually, I was saying, I was agreeing, and then I was like, I might actually backtrack on my agreeing there because there is a sense of clunkiness that something like that brings. And it's played a lot of skills where there was some skill that I was playing, I can't remember what it was specifically, but the animation playing out before the skill fully starts or deals its damage or everything like that, the kind of the locking in place that it might do, or it's not going to lock you in place anymore, obviously, if you did that to Enduring Cry, but it would feel like it did a lot more because there's not that quicker reaction to it. The more that you slow down an animation time or an animation effect or something like that, in my opinion, feels really bad. I can't remember what skill it was.
They want the game to be slower. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the way to do it. I'm just thinking like how many ways are there to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, making the game slower doesn't necessarily mean you have to make the character and animation slower, right?
Yes.
You can also punish players for trying to go faster than they can handle, or like the character can handle.
Yeah. Which was, I think, what they tried in Delirium.
Almost.
I think they tried it, but it really backfired.
Yeah, people are just like crying about that they can't do it, and they instead of realizing, hey, I can't kill mobs anymore, I should probably end the Delirium. They kept going, died, and complained on Reddit. That's
Exactly. Yeah.
They should have just at some point be like, okay, mobs don't take any damage. Maybe I shouldn't be here, but that didn't click.
Yeah.
Psychology-wise, that didn't work.
Yeah.
One thing about Harvest League I typed that into the document. It's like over 50 uniques were revamped in that league. Did anyone remember that actually happened?
Whoa. No.
I looked at I typed in Path of Exile. Oh, by the way, did you know if you type in pathofexile.com/harvest, that doesn't exist anymore. The same is true with
Oh.
Heist. Doesn't exist anymore. Metamorph is still up, for example.
Huh.
Weird.
It's a bit weird.
Weird.
But yeah, just like because I did some research for the like typing the notes, and that's something I noticed.
Yeah.
But I still found like backups, archives, internet doesn't forget anything type of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, 50 uniques were revamped, and I actually made a joke on the trailer where like you're still going to vendor them, and I feel like that's actually what came true.
Yes.
There are like very few that
yep.
that actually are meta now. I think I can't think of any off the top of my head.
So strange. Yeah,
Right.
no, that I completely
it seems like
missed
the
that.
wrong league to introduce any unique reworks because that was the league
Yeah.
to celebrate rares.
I think maybe
Yeah,
that was the
true.
thought though. They wanted uniques to not like completely be outshined by rares, so they kind of like wanted to
Yeah,
give them a little bit of an
maybe.
extra edge, and
Yeah.
that didn't work. But they
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah.
Hashtag they tried.
They tried. They tried.
Heist and Harvest works for you? Harvest works?
I just tried it. It's fine.
Great.
Oh, it's working?
Like, it didn't work for me when I tried to do it. It said like the league wasn't. Yeah, Heist was still up because the Heist is still up, but Harvest didn't work for me. It's interesting. It's up again for me now.
Maybe it just wasn't up. Maybe they were editing something. Badger PI, let's go. No.
I don't think
man.
so. Maybe I had like some. That was like some server issues or I had some issues.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. Yeah.
Metamorph is up. That has always been up. Weird.
Interesting.
Shall we get into Heist?
Let's do it. This one is a long episode. This is a bonus episode for you all.
Yeah.
Because there is too much to cover. Well,
Yep.
not too much. We're having fun covering all of this. It's good. But
Yeah.
Heist.
Turns out a lot happens in a year. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, what happened in Heist?
Yeah,
Let's talk about
the hell
Heist.
did
There were like
actually happen
5
in Heist?
different iterations of Heist within like a week.
Which were your
Oh.
favorite?
Oh.
Oh Christ!
How do we start Heist?
I don't know how to.
I
answer
feel like
that
I've talked
question.
it.
I
I
think
feel
your
like
favorite-
I've talked enough
What
about
was your
Heist on
favorite
this
Heist
podcast.
iteration?
I
That was what
don't like. I don't like its current form. So I
Okay,
would be in the party of people who would have liked the original design to have been reworked rather than Alert being completely nerfed to the point where it
Hey.
just didn't tone.
I don't
still
have
in
a
the same
favorite
boat.
Heist iteration. I tried so hard to like Heist. I've always been a self-proclaimed GGG fanboy. You know, I'll defend GGG most often, and I really did not click with Heist at all.
Wait, even from
Um,
concept, like from trailer.
Yeah. I tried to.
Wow.
I really tried to. On the podcast, I tried to hype myself up for it. I tried to, you know, convince myself that it was cool. I did. I didn't like it. Really. Not
I like the flair. I like the whole ambient. I mean, I told you earlier. I love like gangster movies and that type of stuff, and I also like these actual heist movies, which is like basically a genre in itself. So I love the theme. I felt like the execution. The first iteration was the best one, but they went so far away from it. I'm kind of like goodbye here, and the doors was
Yes.
just tedious at some point.
I had like early on, I was thinking about all the different changes they were making, and like if I would have done Heist, I don't think I would have done Heist in the format that they chose to go about it, as well as the other elements. Because like what I think was important to a Heist, and when I think about Heist genre, I think these people are professionals and meticulous. They plan, and they would never exit the way they came in, because there is a very good chance that somebody would come across. Like, yeah, okay, you would try to go in undetected, but your exit strategy would never be the way that you came in. The entire notion of backtracking is completely counter to the genre, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fact that they made linear zones, like, I get that the parts that we can interact with are linear, and that the zones are probably bigger than that, but I didn't feel that sense.
No, did that all, yeah.
So it was just like if you spawn into a room and then you've got like one path to go to get to the thing that you need, and there is no like choice or interaction with the way that you got to it, and then you leave by backtracking your way back through that one linear path. It didn't feel like a heist to me. It felt like I was doing a shuttle run.
Yeah.
Or like a beep test, if you know what I'm talking about, Badger.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What is the
Actually, the beep test is a great
Oh.
metaphor. So it's like a thing to do. It measures your lung capacity, but basically what you've got to do is run from one side to the other side of like 50 meters or something. And there's a beep. And you have to get there before on the beep. If you get there after the beep, you keep doing it. And the beep is like the distance, the time between the beeps, slowly speeds up.
Okay.
So you start out like kind of speed walking, and then you start jogging, and because you got to catch up to the beep and everything like that, and make sure that you make it in time. And at the end, as it gets faster and faster, you're basically sprinting. And
you're just running laps
and or
at
dying.
the end.
Yeah.
But the feeling of heist is actually quite similar to doing it.
Yeah. That does kind of make sense. Yeah. In terms of genres and everything like that, heist. The reason I didn't really or didn't think it was going to go too well was because the genre of a heist is so outside of the genre of an action RPG. It's like I just didn't see a world where it would do both genres justice. With the mechanic.
Yeah, like the idea that you would probably try to be sneaky and calculated is counter to the like kill everything in sight.
Yeah.
Impulse.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's what a lot of people took issue with the initial like alert part.
Yeah.
I personally think that was still really cool. I enjoyed the sneaking in was really good as long as there was some tension and there was some thinking about and like picking and choosing
you possibly do before you're at your cap.
Exactly. Yeah. How much loot can you actually get out of this? Or there were even times where you like killed one enemy too many and proc the alert before you get the actual loot thing. And I really like that. And I still think we talked about that earlier as well in the Heist. Yeah. I still think there is room for side content in PoE that is slower, that is not about killing as fast as possible, because it is, as long as it is side content and it doesn't feel mandatory, it should be fine. Like Labyrinth exists.
Yes.
A lot of people, there are people who run that. There's a community around it and they love it. There's racing. People love that stuff. Some people don't. And I think that's cool for everything. It shouldn't be the main content. Like you couldn't make slow content the Atlas. That wouldn't work. Like super slow sneaking type content. It still has to be about kill stuff to get loot.
Yeah.
But I feel there's room for it somewhere.
Definitely. So I'm going to agree with you here, Yoji. Like, and even though, you have heard me just saying how much I hated Heist and how much I don't enjoy it. But I talked about this on stream a couple of days ago. We had a really good discussion, Chat and I, about especially Heist being confirmed going core, right? And the backlash it got from certain places. But I talked a lot about how much I dislike Heist and I don't enjoy doing it. And I don't think I'll do it much, but it is a form of content that is optional. It's a form of content that's different, it's a form of content that would have. Again, I'm going to agree as well. The first iteration could have been worked on and done well. I think so, rather than a knee-jerk reaction from GGG just to remove that whole mechanic of the alert happening in the way that it did. But I think it has its place for certain people in the community. And this whole argument of I didn't like Heist, so it should not go core, I think is a bad argument. I don't think it is an argument. Because I don't like Heist and it's fine going core. It's they put a lot of effort into it. I think it's
I like Lab and that went core.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what went core that we don't like? Unveiling.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
optional though. That's the problem. It's not
Yeah.
optional.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
that's the thing.
Delving
Yeah.
is optional. You never have to delve. You can even sell your sulfide missions to people who love to delve, which is cool.
Mm.
You can sell your lab keys if you want to people who love the lab, but you do twice enchanted. That's cool.
Yep.
And I can sell my heist contracts to people who love to heist, because while initially I really liked heist, even like the current rendition, I kind of enjoyed it for quite a bit. It got tedious quite fast because of like the door stuff is annoying. It's a loading bar league. It's just not cool. It's just
Yes.
not that fun.
Loading bar league. That's a good one.
It's like it looks like it is an actual loading bar, and
Yeah.
it's not well executed. I think there is still room for well executed, nicely made, slow content league.
Yeah.
But having to literally like wait for a bar to fill is not good slow content. That's just like slowing down for the purpose of slowing down, and that's it. If you have to wait because there's like, or like you have to go slow because there's some purpose to it, and you do it because you want to get something out of going slow, like for example getting more loot because you like outmaneuvered a certain guard or whatever, that's cool. But that loading bars is not cool.
Yeah. Yes.
What do you think will change about Heist when they implement it?
I'm scared about that. They did say there was a relatively low number of changes happening to Heist.
Yeah.
With it going core.
But
So what I think is happening is
impactful changes.
Yeah, what I think is happening is just
That's a cat.
totally my opinion. I think contracts in maps are staying. Like it's gonna be a 10% or so. Oh, well, no, I think it's just gonna be like a normal type of drop that you can drop, but just less frequent. Contracts and blueprints, markers are staying. I think being able to fracture blueprints will be removed, and I think that the XP exploit in tunnels and repository will get nerfed or removed, or how that XP happens. I think that is it. That's my two things.
Controversially, I saw, is it Tyne or Thine, reply on that comment thread. He said that he didn't think heists should go core and you should just do blueprint.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd support that.
I agree with that.
Because what pisses me off about Heist in its current form is that everything is acquired from core content, not from heists within themselves. And to me, I think that's thematically confusing. It's like, why would I find both contracts, markers, and blueprint in the same circumstance?
Yeah.
Like a blueprint is supposed to be like an upgraded contract experience.
I had this idea. Well, it wasn't just me. I'm not going to steal the idea. It was Chat and I. We kind of worked together on this idea of what I think could be really cool, and it's not going to happen because it doesn't fit within the words of relatively low number of changes or amount of changes. But having you just meet a random rogue in your map, and they're like, "Hey, here's this blueprint layout. Do you want me to run it with you?" Yes, I want you to run it. It's kind of like, interacting with a betrayal guy. Like, you're either gonna, dismiss them, or you're gonna capture them or whatever. Yes, I want you to run it. You can run it here in this wing with me. Or no, I'm gonna dismiss you. I'll wait for someone else better that I want. Right?
I've got an
and
idea.
Then it's like it's Ziri Temple as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
I've got an idea that builds on that.
Yeah, it's incursion, but it's doing a grand heist, and I think that's cool.
There's so many different types of things, though. There's blueprints, there's contracts, and you've got green contracts, the questy ones, and then you've got unique contracts. I don't think we need normal contracts. You just use the green quest contracts to go through the lore thing and introduce you different people. You tie your introduction of additional rogues to the quest contracts because that would make sense. You go on a quest to get new rogues. And as the process of going through the quest contracts, you unlock additional heist related content, which, could be like finding a blueprint or a unique contract or something like that. Like every I don't know. It needs to be more like that. It needs to be more like its own thing that progresses itself.
Yeah.
Instead of like,
Or maybe, yeah.
I mean, I think what they were thinking when they did it the first time, because they thought that the currency was rogue markers and rogue markers were like sulfite. So you come out of the delve, acquire your currency that would allow you to keep going, and then go down the delve. But the problem was that the delve itself, it would have been the equivalent of a contract or blueprint. And you need both item types. You need the currency to do it, the rogue markers to pay for it, and the content itself, because it doesn't exist without a contract.
That's true.
As where they where they tried to emulate a previous design that worked well, but it fell short because it was slightly different.
Yeah.
I mean, the contracts are basically like within the system. The contracts are, aside from like loot and experience, there to give you more markers, right? You always get more markers out than you get from the contract.
Yeah, but the thing is, the point remains that you acquire two types of items which you combine, because you have to pay to do the contract. You can't do contract for free.
Not for free, but you will always get more out of it if you succeed.
I'm not making that point though. My point is that you need two different types of items to run it.
Yeah, to run it,
yes. Yes. So I'm saying like the cost to engage. Whereas delve, you can just go to your delve and there is a thing. The only way to go down is with sulfite. You don't need a contract to run delve.
You need a map and you need something that enables Nico, right?
Right, so but the fact is there's no item that enables you to go deeper. You just click on the delve map and you'd go deeper.
You mean like within the system? Yeah, within the system, you just click on the node and you only need sulfite. I mean, you still need.
You don't need the RNG of the drop. You don't need like the. I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I just think it's sloppy because they just introduced like 5 different types of items, including a currency type.
It was like it's a really
none of them it makes sense with each other.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to introduce a system with like so many things, and then as you said, the contracts and everything drops outside and inside of the heist, which is also I think
I found that when they first did heists, like you couldn't really drop blueprints or other contracts from a contract. And their issue, I think the reason they did that was because like they thought, if we do this, then people will never go into maps. But I was like, you need rogue markers to do anything. And if you spend all of your rogue markers on unlocking blueprint stuff, then you have to map to get more rogue markers.
Yeah, I think that's why they were so expensive in the beginning. I think that's exactly their design idea behind it. Yeah.
I think Pack. I'm not sure. PAAK, the content creator, mentioned, and I think it's the best way to do this. And like I'll just have an iteration on it. But you're in a map, and map contains heist portal. You go into the heist portal. It's a contract, but you start at the vault room, and it's already in lockdown. Then you fight your way out, and you collect loot on the way, and you have a chance to drop you have a chance to drop blueprints in them, and you go to the rogue harbor to run your blueprints. That's like the endgame heist bit, right? And that's where you can upgrade your rogues and everything like that. But on normal heists, you just get like a random rogue with you. It would be pretty fun.
I think I would like that, because if it spawns on my map, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to skip it. As mean as that sounds.
Yeah.
But I don't want stuff to pop out my map.
You don't want to go into a heist portal and then be at the start of a heist, do you? And then walk through and then walk out.
I also don't want to be at the end of a heist. I don't want to. I don't want heist portals in my map. I want the option to completely play the game as if heist did not exist.
Yeah.
Honestly, I at least for like a league or two. I'm done with
agreed.
heist.
100% agreed. I don't think I'm going to be touching heist.
I'm done for now.
Yeah.
Honestly, making heist go core this league, like we could use a break from it. Like
they could have waited like a league. No one would have minded.
Please just wait, unless it's tied to 3.13.
It will be. That's why, like Bex said, when they announced that they were bringing heist core, they then later made a comment on Reddit that they were sad that they couldn't say more of it because of the nature of what they would have to reveal when they said how Heist would go core, and now they're stuck in this
Exactly.
limbo of not being able to reveal because obviously
Yeah.
it is tied to the new endgame stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of like revealed it without revealing it, which I think is pretty fair.
Yeah. I said this as well on stream a couple of days ago. Might even be today. Anyway, most of the points that we will be talking about now, and we have talked about, will be completely moot when we get announcements of what the new league content is going to be, because I think it is very much shaking up how past league content will be introduced to the game. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. It probably relates to PoE 2, someone saying as well. Probably everything from this point has been either experimentations for PoE 2 or content additions for PoE 2, and pretty much how I see it. But yeah,
Should we talk about the loot?
there was too much of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like, wasn't there? I agree, right? I feel like they could have easily fueled like 2 to 3 leagues of special loot from this instead of 1. What do you think about that, Pi? Like, is there anything you would miss if Heist didn't go core? Is there any one of those that we would be super sad to not see again?
I liked the replica unique, maybe, but experimental bases and gem quality and like all of that stuff is kind of
I really liked all of it. Like, loved all of it. I loved the alternate quality gems. I think they're really cool.
I don't think they all need to happen in the same league.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Easily like 2 leagues of loot, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, that's just a very personal thing for me with especially the alternate quality gems is trying to. Yeah, actually, I think I'm still attached to the idea of alternate quality gems and not actually looking at how they turned out.
See, that's
so
my
when
point.
I look, yeah,
there's like,
yeah,
was it 900 gems or something? And like, how many were good?
When I actually look at it and how many are actually like build enabling or exactly. Aura stacking got the best stuff, and it's like, come on,
they buffed the crap out of Aura stackers. It was like so. There's some good ones. There's like the Divergent Dash, which
there is some really good ones.
Said in chat is pretty good. There's the Arcane Cloak with like buff effect. There's some really good ones. There are also some build changing ones, but it's like from the whatever hundreds of gens, there's like maybe like 20, 30, 40 maybe at max.
I mean, like I fully accept the premise that ARPG means that there's going to be trash loot, but
the ratio though,
the quantity of trash loot that just got added was so high.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, the guaranteed nice drop, or like the best roll of a drop, was a really welcome change. Loved seeing that, and I can't wait to see how that happens in PoE 2, and possibly beyond really Heist as well.
Yep. There were rares that you would pick up in that end of Heist. That's unheard of in Path of Exile.
Yeah, I mean.
And going to Mayhem and Delve afterwards, like the
normal rares
really obvious.
Yeah.
I felt like I was instantly spoiled, and I really didn't spend that much time on Heist either.
Yeah. No, it really shows. I mean, Chris said that this was basically like the prototype for how they want to eventually rework loot or go about it. So I'm pretty hopeful that that's. Looks like it could work, honestly. I feel like the experimental bases fell a bit short on usability. They were like a little, I think that purposefully didn't want to make them super like overbearingly powerful. It's kind of like they didn't want to create another Stygian Vice situation, basically.
Yeah.
And they didn't. But I actually found myself using quite a lot of experimental bases in the meantime because they were well rolled when I found them, and they were upgrades, which was kind of nice. I feel like I never used the enchantments much, though. I have to admit, like
there's some things that I will say about what were they? The tailoring orbs and what were they called?
Refractory lens or whatever it's called. I've not seen
not the
one,
lenses
by the
for the gems, but the
4 months. I've not seen one.
the ones to add enchantments to either weapons or armor.
I don't
Tempering
think I've
orb,
seen
yeah.
them.
Yes,
Tempering,
tempering and tailoring
and-
orbs. Yes. So those are they're really rare. They're really interesting, and I don't think I didn't spend enough time in Trade League to get the kind of currency to do a kind of experiment test that I wanted to do. Of usually stuff that I do in each league is like really try and experiment in depth on the mechanic of something, and those ones are really, really, really interesting because I think we don't know much about how broken they are, and I think that they pick or are very highly weighted to the mods that are actually already on the item, and I want to test them more. But I was talking behind the scenes to someone using I think the tempering orbs on uniques, especially like Cosprey's Malice, and I think it was like 8 out of 10 times they hit either a cold enchantment mod or a crit mod, which were always insane profits. Because the market just didn't know about that. It was something very interesting with those orbs, and I love that kind of stuff. And I hope that I'll still be able to try and get a bunch of them and test them in the new league. We'll see. I just wanted to make that assessment there. What's going on in chat? You guys are both laughing at chat.
Yep.
Yes, no, but the length of the episode has been true. That's what's happening in chat, right? The length of the episode. This is pretty much a double episode here.
This is
but we're covering so much material.
It's great. It's really good.
We skipped so much stuff on the first 2 leagues. Like there was a lot of stuff in there.
There's too much to cover, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's like basically one big point still left. I think that again the skills, which are always very dear to me, as I mentioned. I felt like this was the weakest one. The weakest set of skills. Not on like power level.
Some skills that are really good though, like Flame Wall and Voice Sphere worked out pretty well. Hex Blast was pretty good.
Yeah.
But then the rest of them kind of like, I don't know. Are you guys, have you used the defensive ones, like the Frost Shield and the Sigil of Power match?
Not much, but I think they're good. I don't think I use them as much as I should.
I found
they're
them really
not
hard.
like. Did you find them like they had to be the build, like, or they made your build better than other stuff you could have done?
I found Sigil of Power too hard to stay in because it's purely offensive. For the most part, unless you charge it fully up. I found it too hard to stay in and play around. While Frost Shield is a bit easier because it gives you a life buffer. It allows you to like tank a bit. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
Flame Wall is PogChamp.
Flame Wall's amazing. I love Flame Wall.
I'm still bummed out the visuals are not as cool as the initially shown ones.
Yeah, true. It happens like that. It always does. But yeah. I think Void Sphere is actually really, really cool. And Void Sphere was the Endless Delve MVP. That was really, really cool. Yeah.
But it's really freaking cool. 10-second cooldown, dude. Oh wow.
Yeah, but I like a skill like that because it's situational. You know? It's never gonna be a main damage skill. Yeah.
Yep, that's true.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, but even like Crackling Lance, I think fell short a bit. Firestorm fell short a bit. Glacial Cascade honestly doesn't feel that changed.
No,
Curses, Hex Blast is interesting. I feel. Kind of want to play that next league. Pox kind of convinced me when we had him on.
I want to play Hex Blast for sure. I also didn't get to play with Flame Wall. I like that Void Sphere can be slapped onto any build, but at the same time, I don't know if I like that. I know that sounds like I know I just contradicted myself. I love that you can do that, but I find that a lot of people say use Void Sphere for specific content in game, and I'm like, should there only ever be one solution to that issue, or is that issue actually like a design flaw in the game in and of itself?
I don't think there is like Void Sphere rarely is the only solution, but for some builds it's like a neat one. I think a lot of people use it in Heist to like put it in the doorways with the guards. My build, for example, put a Flame Wall there. That worked pretty well too.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a lot more skills in the game, or at least a few more skills in the game that are very high cooldown crowd control skills. If we want to start moving to a slower gameplay style, but still have everything feel important and not lose kind of that urgency. You know, like something that's got a really big cooldown. It's kind of like Vile skills. I guess Vile skills kind of fill that niche, but they're mostly just damage all the time, really. You know,
I mean, there's like Vile Discipline, which was honestly the first guard skill, if you will.
True, actually, yeah.
And there's some of that. Like I guess Vile Haste is mostly damage and speed, and most of them are like somewhat like that. Although Vile Molten Shell is the most used one, it's also a guard skill.
We did not talk about that getting nerfed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, when was that? Hang on.
Was that Harvest?
Somewhere last year?
Harvest. It was Harvest.
I think
Harvest?
Metamorph was still running. I think Delirium was when everyone was super surprised it was not nerfed, and then Harvest it actually did.
Yeah, I think it was Harvest.
I remember it being like the no-brainer conversation for a really long time, and then
that's for sure getting nerfed 10 times in a row, and it's not happening. Kind of like Trickster, still not that nerfed.
Yeah.
I wonder if it will be. I don't think it should necessarily be, but I kind of expected it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trickster's that kid that like never spoke at school, but was just good at everything. never really socialized, but was kind of like wasn't like dorky. They were kind of just like a cool person, but they never really talked. But they were just good at everything. And Trickster's gonna stay that way.
I mean, maybe he's like the benchmark.
Yeah. I would actually agree. Trickster's a pretty good benchmark of what Ascendancy should feel like. Yeah.
But he's good.
But you know what Ascendancy shouldn't feel like? Elementalist.
Yes. Okay. Hands up who thinks Elementalist will get a change in the next patch. Actually, I had my hand up, but I'm putting my hand down.
I think it should get a change.
Yes, and there's two different questions there, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
I think it has like Elementalist has like, I mean, Gold Elementalist is fine, but I don't want it to be the only option.
Yes.
I like the Herald node, the last part of the 4-pointer. I don't like the one before that. The Herald node, the Quad Herald playstyle is really fun. I love that. Everything else, please change it.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. It's so.
I don't want the
golems
to be mandatory either, though.
Mm-hmm. What I don't like in the game is conditional ticks. Things that are. There's a couple of the uniques that do it, and the Elementals does it with the Pendulum of Destruction, right? And Chieftain does it a little bit as well, where you've got
Guardian has
certain buffs for a certain period of time, and then different buffs for a different period of time. I hate that. I think it takes control away from the player.
If it's done well. I think it's like on some stats, I think it works. On some stats, it doesn't work. I feel for the Chieftain, for example, it's really cool because you can like kind of like especially if you're playing like slow slant like Tectonic. I feel like you can kind of play around it because once you have the timing down, it's like 100% extra as fire from Fizz, right? It's like really
it is pretty
high.
big, yeah. It is huge.
And if it's impactful like that, it's actually worth playing around. It makes sense. But then if it's like Elementals with like 60% more increased damage or 70%, and like AoE, which is like you want AoE either all the time while clearing, or
so
you
annoying.
Don't care. There's nothing you play around. It's like that is like unsensical. And then the Guardian one is just like, okay, it's like unreliable block. Like block is already RNG, you just like added another layer on top. You don't even notice the RNG part as much with that. It's like super weird.
Yeah. I stick by. I think it's just a bad mechanic in general.
I don't like it. I think it can be done well, but we have like maybe I think the Chieftain is the only one where it's actually sometimes cool.
I can no longer hold this.
That's fine. That is all good.
That's fine.
We
sometimes
we can keep talking about this. I can keep disagreeing with Yoji all day.
Yeah, that works. We actually managed to disagree again. Woo!
I know, it's good. Was that number 2 or something like that? No, we disagreed a few times. It's good. Yeah.
Yep.
But
what else we have? Call of Steel.
Oh yeah.
I think that's just not limited at all.
Yeah. All of Steel.
That's
okay. I have a cool opinion about this.
Patch, right?
Yes, it will. The whole concept of how Call of Steel works and how it got implemented, I think, is really interesting, though.
Yep.
The way that a skill being used not for its intended purpose to help other skills. It's hard to. I always feel for the Path of Exile balance team, and everything around that. I always feel for it because there's so many things that you could just miss, and it's really easy to. And I think that this was missed. But I love those types of interactions and those discoveries of like 2-3 weeks into a league of, wow, this is something that we didn't see, you know?
Yeah.
That's really healthy for the game. Really healthy. Something like Call of Steel is extremely healthy for the game.
Yeah, these type of things are what makes it worth to go discovering and trying to find new builds.
Exactly.
Because knowing this stuff sometimes is there makes the whole search phase, because you will find such a crazy interaction maybe like once every 5 years in PoE, like as a person. Like the community finds them like almost every league or every other league.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that
definitely.
it's good that it's there, but I also think it shouldn't stay there for more than one league.
Exactly. Yes.
It scuffs the whole melee meta into this one build.
Yeah, and it ties in with this talk that I was having with my brother as well about nerfs and buff cycles in games. It's very important to have in games like this, and I think that structure is the best way of creating a game that lasts for a very long time. You always have to have it constantly changing. You have to have things that are overpowered, and then you have to nerf those things.
And you have to have
Call of Steel is one of those exceptions. Yeah, one of those things.
And you have to have, like, as you said, you can't have the same thing overpowered all the time, because, as I said with the aura stackers, if the same thing is OP all the time, you will have people who will play this thing for 5 years, and they probably won't play it for 5 years, because after like maybe 1 or 2 years, they'll be like, okay, I've seen everything, bye.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they maybe come back if the meta changes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But we never usually see it come back like Winter Orb and things like that.
I mean,
we'll see.
Sometimes we do. It just takes
sometimes
time.
Yeah, it's true.
Discharge. You didn't expect that to get buffed.
Oh, Discharge. Yes, I'm still thinking about league starting Discharge next league as well, but like I'm really, really holding off. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be. Discharge. Yes, Discharge.
Is Pie back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
Woo! All right.
Welcome back.
I think we can wrap it up, right? If you have any closing thoughts on, I think we can do like
just
a
quickly
summary.
Well, just
thing
quickly
type
for
of
Pie,
deal.
we just talked about Call of Steel and then a tiny bit about Discharge. What do you think about the whole Call of Steel interaction with slam builds?
I did not see it.
Yeah. Do you know about the interaction?
No, please tell me.
Okay, yeah, cool. So Call of Steel.
This is the one I've been the most like AFK for. So
yeah. And for everyone else in chat, watching live, or on the podcast, and you don't know about it, Call of Steel was an interaction. It was a skill that was granted to you for free by having any of the steel skills equipped: Shattering Steel, Lancing Steel, or Splitting Steel. You'd get this Call of Steel that couldn't be linked to anything, and all it would do would be to rip out the impales that you land on an enemy. So you'd rip them out and it would deal damage depending on how many impales you had on the enemy. And there was, I'm not going to talk about the numbers. Yeah. It was based around the impale mechanic and not about the actual shards that you would be granted from the steel skills themselves. Mm-hmm. So what people figured out, what you could do is you could use any other skill to stack impales on an enemy and then just have a random one socket splitting steel somewhere or something like that to then just pull those impales out. And then people realized that you can use the impaler node on the bottom of the tree, the keystone that implies 5 impales at once, and then pull them out. We can use slam skills to apply 5 massive impales and pull them out. We can one-shot bosses with this mechanic. There's a lot more in there of how exactly it scales with applying them all at the especially hardcore. Champion Ground Slam, the bonk build as everyone called it, was crazy. But Yoji and I were just talking about things being OP is great, but it needs to be
do you guys think it's OP?
Yes.
You can one-shot any boss in the game.
Okay, that sounds OP. I mean, I
Yeah.
love the interaction. I kind of love that something
Ooh.
can happen
Oh,
that
no.
way.
Did the stream just die? It looks like the stream died.
I think Twitch actually shit
Is
the
Twitch
bed.
dying? Yeah.
Twitch has
Hopefully the
been shooting it
VOD
the whole
stay.
time.
I really hope the VOD stays intact. Anyway, we'll continue. Because otherwise that might be difficult to, because we're not recording this. I'm not recording this outside of the VOD. Whoops.
Yeah. Monka W.
Whoop. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. Fingers crossed. Anyway, maybe we'll end it not actually even live on stream, and just hope that the VOD stays intact. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming and not watching live right now. But if you're listening, if it all stayed intact, thank you for listening all the way through. I wonder if we can stall for like 1 minute to see if it comes back up. Any last closing thoughts about the year in general? Oh, we are back apparently.
Ooh.
Hey, we're back. Okay, good. We can end it, and we can let Pi plug whatever she would like to plug with people actually listening. So, Pi, before we end, talk about yourself. What are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I stream on Twitch under Piebypie, so if you can see my name on screen, then that's how it's spelled everywhere. And we also, I have a podcast as well. If you haven't heard of it, it's called Baited Expectations. It's named after the div card where you can get a fishing rod. It has really nice flavor text. Please read it if you ever see it in game. And the co-hosts on the podcast are Kitten Cat Noodle, Brittleknee, and Valina. So if you ever want to hear some hot takes and some fiery feedback from those content creators and myself, you can find the videos on my YouTube channel, and we do them live on my Twitch. And yeah, that's really all I have to plug at the moment. Thanks for asking.
Brilliant, and it's an awesome podcast, by the way.
Yeah, it's really great.
Really, really good podcast. Great content. Some really interesting discussions that happen there as well, which is always fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely go check out Baited Expectations. Yoji, you're streaming a bit more now, right?
Yes.
Or for a little bit, yeah.
Sometimes I streamed, like, I have my green screen back up, as you can see, like, professionally edited out by Mr. Badger himself. And yeah, I'm actually streaming a bit more now. Like, maybe like trying like once a week. Sometimes it works. I will at least manage at every other week on the weekend. And yeah, it's going all right. Other than that, I'll be making the usual YouTube stuff as always. I mean, but yeah, streams more regular. So follow me on Twitch is actually worth it now.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you're definitely obviously also doing a actual trailer for 3.13.
That's a given. I even did these while I was on hiatus. I only missed like I think 2 leagues. I even made them while I was like making. I made like 3 videos a league, and I still made them.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you did them until I got back into PoE after ExileCon, and I saw the first one for Metamorph, and it was, yeah.
So good. They were awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely check them out.
They're super fun to make as well. It's like my most fun time. Most stressful and most fun to do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and you did the interesting thing about the most recent one for Heist was that you did a premiere on YouTube.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I'm going to do that again next time, but with a bit more time beforehand.
Yeah, planning. Yeah, please plan that shit so that you can make it.
There's a feature on YouTube where you can like release the video with like a countdown timer, basically, so everyone can watch it at the same time.
Yeah.
My community, obviously, like everyone waits for these freaking trailers because that's I think where most of my subs come from. And yeah, I think I want to do that with like maybe like an hour or like 2 hours beforehand premiere on YouTube, so we can all watch it together and like have a YouTube chat as well. I think that's going.
And also like say like at least a day or a few days in advance of when you're planning on doing it, so that people know.
That's like impossible. The process of this is like so stressful for me between like work and everything. I sit at lunch break at work, write like the script at lunch break at work, and then I get back home, and it's super crazy to doing that. I basically put it out as soon as it is finished. I just like instantly put it out. Like waiting 2 hours already, pushing it sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So it's
but you always get them out, and they're always amazing. Yeah. Oh, it's a really stressful time. I'm about to go on holiday for 5 days in, well, day after tomorrow. No, tomorrow. Literally tomorrow. Yeah. So I won't be around.
Next year, basically.
Yeah. As I leave, I will be uploading Badger PI, episode 2, season 2. So there's some spicy takes in that one. I have not started the editing of the video yet. So that's what I'm doing right now until I fall asleep and leave tomorrow.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we won't be staying around on stream, but I also have to do something a little bit later. I'll have to have a short stream because I met my sub goal for the end of 2020, and I have to do a shoey. For those of you who don't know what a shoey is, it's drinking alcohol out of a shoe. So I have to do that.
Why? I don't know. It's a thing, but it's a thing.
I don't know. I don't know why it's a thing, but I'm doing it. So that might be, let's say, 8 hours or something like that.
What?
Oh yeah,
Really?
you do it really?
Yeah.
I thought that was just Australian.
Oh my god.
People call it Stiefelsaufen, and I think it originated in like the German military.
No way.
Like for us, at least.
We stole it, Pi. I thought it was an Australian
I'm gonna
thing.
Google shoey.
Yeah. Anyway, in about 8 hours, I might be going live again, and we will be doing that. I have to do that before I leave. I gotta not leave you guys hanging. So, but thus ends the podcast.
Yes, and the year of the podcast.
And the year.
Of the
This is the last Inspired Learning before 2021. So thank you so much for listening, watching, chatting, everyone. We really appreciate it. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Check out the VOD if you didn't see the full episode on Yoji's YouTube channel. And it will be on all podcasting applications after the fact. I'm going to get it up earlier this time because the Christmas period happened last time and we got it up pretty late. So I'm going to get it up hopefully today. So thank you so much, everyone. And until next time, stay sane.
Stay sane,
Exiles.